Are you ready?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studios, this is the Steve Malzberg Show. Be a part of the action by calling 855-777-9660. That's 855-777-9660. Or email Steve at malzbergshow@newsmax.com. Here is Steve Malzberg.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard Monday edition of the Steve Malzberg Show. And I am so happy and so thrilled to announce our newest affiliate, and that is the great WCTC Radio, 1450 AM in the great state of New Jersey, my home state. And, of course, I've been on in that market many, many times for many, many years, never on the great air of WCTC specifically, but after 25 years at WABC and 5 years at WOR, it is a thrill to be joining a lineup that now includes Bert Barron and Laura Ingram and Tommy G and Alan Combs. So I am thrilled beyond belief. I hope to hear from you folks when we take our phone calls at 855-777-9660, 855-777, as I like to say, 9660. So welcome aboard to the Steve Malzberg Show, New Jersey, and WCTC 1450 on the AM dial. All right, it's great to be back. It's always great to be back in the saddle, especially after the weekend and after an extra day away. And we have breaking news to get to, so I just want to address this briefly now. We will go in depth in this a little bit later on. But John Kerry just held a little press conference. He was an hour late. First, it was supposed to be 2 Eastern time, then 2:30, and it turned out to be about 3. And this involves Syria. And, of course, we all talked about the chemical weapons attack that took place last week. We spoke to experts like John Bolton, the former U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, about it the day it happened. And the experts I spoke to said the Syrian government, the Assad government, although not impossible and not beyond what they're capable of, would have been foolish and idiotic to launch a chemical weapons attack on a town, killing 1,500 people, including many children, when UN weapons inspectors were already there inspecting for other things. And Russia is in Syria's corner, so the UN can't do anything to Russia. They can't sanction anything in the Security Council. And Assad has been winning this war of attrition, if you will, and this war in general. So why would Assad do that at that particular time? It makes no sense. On the other hand, the rebels, who we don't even know who they are, made up of Al-Qaeda, made up of Muslim Brotherhood, who knows who they're made up of? We don't know. They'd have every motivation to try to make it look like Assad gassed his own people. And in fact, we're hearing now reports that our fleet is moving into the Mediterranean, that cruise missiles are going to be headed into Syria. Based on what? So I thought John Kerry, Secretary of State, although I can't believe I'm saying that, still, would come on board and would tell us today, here's the proof. You know, like, where's the beef? Well, here's the proof. And all John Kerry had to say, I jotted down, is that this is a moral obscenity and that our sense of basic humanity has been offended, and there's been an attempt to cover up the bombing, evidence of the bombing, and that, I'm waiting. How do you know who did this? How do you know who killed the women and children, the innocent women and children? You know what John Kerry came up with? Common sense says Syria used the chemical weapons. Common sense. We're going to get involved militarily in Syria, helping the people who hate us, Al-Qaeda, the Brotherhood. Gee, I've heard that movie before. Let's see. Barack Obama becomes president. Libya, we help the Muslim Brotherhood and Al-Qaeda. Egypt, we help the Muslim Brotherhood. Now in Syria, we're going to help the Muslim Brotherhood. Oh, maybe that's where I've heard it before. When we don't, Kerry says the U.S. will respond to this attack. How do we know? Why didn't he present proof of how we know Assad did it? Because common sense says Syria did it, as opposed to the fine rebels. So here we are. We'll get to this later, but I'm just warning you. Obama finally sees an opening here. Blame it on Syria. Blame it on Assad. Bomb Syria. Help the rebels, the wonderful rebels. Who are the rebels? Everybody who hates America. Not that Assad likes America. Not that he's a good guy. But, the pattern continues. God forbid we lose an American or put an American in harm's way over this. This is not a good situation, what we're getting into here, folks. It's none of our business, and we don't know who did it. Okay, let me move on. Let me move on to Martin Luther King Jr. 50 years ago, I think the exact anniversary is Wednesday when the president's going to speak. Martin Luther King Jr., August 28, 1963. Martin Luther King Jr. had a dream. We know what the dream was. Martin Luther King's dream was that one day his children and all children would be judged on the content of their character, not on the color of their skin. That is an amazing dream. That's what it should be. That's how we should all be judged, on who we are based on what's inside, how we act, what's in our hearts, right? Who could argue with that? And now we live in a society where there's a whole culture of race baiters and race pushers and a media that makes money off of pushing the race card. Colleges judge applications by giving them points in some instances if their skin color is a certain color. We have Al Sharpton, Jesse Jackson, and others. How do you think Martin Luther King Jr. would feel about all this? Well, we'll talk to his niece, Alveda King, a little bit later in the show. But his son, Martin Luther King III, spoke on Saturday at the big march on Washington, honoring Martin Luther King Jr.'s legacy. And he had some very disturbing things to say, in my view. And I'd love you to weigh in on these. I'd love for you to weigh in on where we are as a nation. Where do you think we are as a nation? I would love to hear from you. 855-777-9660, 855-777-9660. Listen to Martin Luther King III, the son of Martin Luther King Jr. This is cut 11.
So I stand here today in this sacred place, in my father's footsteps. I am humbled by the heavy hand of history, but more than that, I, like you, continue to feel his presence. I, like you, continue to hear his voice crying out in the wilderness. The admonition is clear. This is not the time for a nostalgic commemoration, nor is this the time for self-congratulatory celebration. The task is not done. The journey is not complete. We can and we must do more.
Okay, that's fair enough. Fair enough. I'll agree we need to do more. I think everybody agrees we need to do more. But let's listen to the next cut from the son of Martin Luther King Jr. This would be Martin Luther King III, cut number 12.
The vision preached by my father a half-century ago was that his 4 little children would one day live in a nation where they would not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. However, sadly, the tears of Trayvon Martin's mother and father remind us that far too frequently the color of one's skin remains a license to profile, to arrest, and to even murder with no regard for the content of one's character. Regressive stand-your-ground laws must be repealed. Federal anti-profiling legislation must be enacted.
All right. So he uses the 50th anniversary of his father's speech, and he brings up Trayvon Martin. Trayvon Martin. Now, I don't see how that's justifiable at all. I don't see how that's justifiable at all. I mean, do you? Am I nuts? Trayvon Martin had a place from the son of Dr. Martin Luther King? Trayvon Martin, where race played no factor whatsoever. There was no racial factor in Trayvon Martin's case. I was disgusted. I was disgusted. I'd like to think I was shocked because this wasn't Al Sharpton. This was the son of Martin Luther King Jr. When we come back, we'll hear Al Sharpton. See, I would have expected this from Al Sharpton. But we haven't gotten to where we are. My father, Martin Luther King Jr., we have not realized his dream. Look at the tears shed over Trayvon Martin. Trayvon Martin had nothing to do with the dream of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And if we want to go into the character of Trayvon Martin, let's. You want to go into the character of George Zimmerman? Let's. Let's. But just the case, the criminal case, my God. What he should have done was then go on to say, if he wanted to give an appearance of righteousness of any sort, hey, how about the punks that killed the jogger? Or the 2 black punks who killed the World War II veteran in Washington State, the guy they called Shorty, beat him to death with a flashlight. But no, Trayvon Martin. If only Trayvon Martin, if only George Zimmerman had been falsely convicted, then all would have been right with the world. How on earth does Trayvon Martin have anything to do with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.? What he fought for, what he died for, what he hoped for. How? In what way? We're coming back. We got more. You'll hear from the aforementioned, unfortunately, it's in my control, so I could stop it, but I'm not going to. The aforementioned Al Sharpton right here on the Steve Malzberg Show on Newsmax TV.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
What is Lignet? Lignet is knowledge. Lignet is power. Lignet is global. Top-level officials, U.S. intelligence officers, national security advisors, foreign operatives, all reporting directly to you. What is Lignet? Lignet is confidential. Lignet is sensitive. Lignet is security. What is Lignet? They're the ones taking the world's pulse. If you're not in the know, you're not on Lignet.com. You've been briefed.
Judging from everything you hear, you think all cholesterol is bad, but that's not really true. You need a certain amount of cholesterol to maintain good health. The problem is that too much cholesterol in your blood contributes to a plaque, a fatty substance that narrows the coronary arteries that feed blood flow to your heart. Picture your coronary arteries as a 4-lane highway. If one lane becomes blocked, traffic still flows well. 2 lanes, no major problem. But if a 3rd lane becomes blocked, that spells trouble. It's the same way with your coronary arteries. And when plaque slows their blood flow to your heart, this can even cause a heart attack. The good news is that when it comes to cholesterol, lifestyle changes can pay off big time. Even a small reduction in plaque can be like opening up another highway lane. Suddenly, blood flow that was stalled can go forward again. Changing your lifestyle does not have to be hard. And in fact, here are 3 ways to help you start lowering your cholesterol. Snack on nuts. Nuts are probably one of the easiest and tastiest ways to lower cholesterol. Walnuts and almonds are among the best. Bulk up your diet with fiber. Choose whole fruits instead of a fruit juice, brown rice instead of white, and if you're eating a baked potato, be sure to leave the skin on. Choose fish. Fish contains cholesterol-fighting omega-3 fatty acids. I'm Dr. Chauncey Crandall, and thanks for watching this Heart Health Minute. Remember, it's never too late to prevent or reverse heart disease. Right now, I invite you to discover your own risk for heart disease or even a heart attack by taking my quick, free online quiz at www.simplehearttest.com.
I love you, son, so it hurts when you say I hate you. I'm your mother. I'm tired of you disrespecting me when you don't get your way. I work hard to make sure you have everything you need. I should be able to ask you to get out of bed in the morning without a fight. So from now on, things are going to be different. I ordered the Total Transformation Program. We're not going to scream and fight anymore. I'm going to tell you what to do in a different way, and you're going to do it. You're not going to call me ugly names anymore, and if you do, you're going to get consequences that'll keep you from calling me ugly names. We're not going to do things your way anymore, son. We're going to do things the Total Transformation way.
Get the Total Transformation free. Just order the program, tell us how it works for you, and you can keep it for free. Call 1-888-577-9520. 1-888-577-9520. Call now. Call 1-888-577-9520. 1-888-577-9520.
Attention seniors and baby boomers. A new website has been created just for you. SocialSecurityFree.com. At SocialSecurityFree.com, we reveal a weird trick that could help you add $152,000 to your Social Security payouts. For example, did you know how you file for Social Security can dramatically change the amount of money you collect? One simple step could add up to $1,000 to your monthly payouts. And other loopholes we found reveal 33 ways for big savings on your health care. At SocialSecurityFree.com, you will also discover how you could save up to 50% on your groceries, along with 49 other ways to save as much as $50,000 starting today. Newsmax says SocialSecurityFree.com is a critical resource for anyone over the age of 50. So go to SocialSecurityFree.com now to find out how you could add extra money to your Social Security checks. That's SocialSecurityFree.com.
Where can you find the Steve Malzberg Show? Everywhere. From your smartphone to satellite radio to Newsmax Live TV to Roku, we have you covered. Here is Steve Malzberg.
50 years ago, Dr. King said that America gave blacks a check that bounced in the Bank of Justice and was returned marked insufficient funds. Well, we've redeposited the check. But guess what? It bounced again. But when we looked at the reason this time, it was marked stop payment.
All right, there's Al Sharpton, ladies and gentlemen, in Washington in celebration of 50th anniversary of the speech given by Martin Luther King Jr. Here on the Steve Malzberg Show. By the way, coming up at the bottom of the hour, we'll be joined by Elizabeth Imus Zero. She is a comedian, host, daughter of radio personality Don Imus, and she will join us, talk about her new book, Etiquette for Idiots and Other Stupid Stories. So we'll have some fun with her. I want you to hear the next Al Sharpton cut. This would be cut 14.
They have the money to bail out banks. They have the money to bail out major corporations. They have the money to give tax benefits to the rich. They have the money for the 1%. But when it comes to Head Start, when it comes to municipal workers, when it comes to our teachers, they stop the check. We gonna make you make the check good, or we gonna close down the bank.
All right. Well, we're going to close down the banks. Typical, Al Sharpton rhetoric with typical Al Sharpton veiled type threats. Now, on the other hand, I want you to listen to Congressman Raul Labrador, who was on one of the shows, could have been on Meet the Press, and he was talking. He's a Puerto Rican immigrant. He's a congressman, Republican from Idaho. And listen to what he had to say, because they had a whole panel on with guests saying the same thing. We've gotten nowhere since Dr. King. The country's broken. Race relations stink. We're in big trouble. Civil rights haven't progressed. And listen to what Labrador had to say, cut 16.
And it saddens me, actually, to hear some of the things that I'm hearing here, because I think the American dream is alive. I was born 4 years after the March on Washington. I was born to a single mother who lost her job because she got pregnant by me, who decided to give me life, but the most important thing that she decided is that she was going to give me a good life. I didn't go to military school when I was a young man because my mother was rich. I went to military school because she decided to sacrifice. She decided to go without some things in her her life so she could put me in a military school. Then she couldn't afford that anymore, so she put me in another private school. And eventually, when she wanted to move to the mainland, she decided to put me in a bilingual school because she thought that the only way I would be successful in life is by gaining an education, by being better educated, by learning English.
Let me tell you, how much of a problem in many minority communities is that philosophy and that kind of parenting and that kind of ethic is not there. Okay? Rather than Al Sharpton say, we'll close down the banks. How about preaching some of what you just heard from Congressman Labrador? You think that might help? Let's go to cut 17.
I remember when we moved to the United States, she told me something that was so significant in my life. She said, in private, we can speak Spanish, but when you're in public, you need to speak English because I want you to speak English to the best of your ability. These are things that she thought about. I spent the last 24 hours. I watched the Martin Luther King's speech 3 times over the last 24 hours, and it was fantastic. And the rhetoric that he used, the words that he used, and the message that he used was a message of hope. And unfortunately, what I've been hearing from your panelists is not a message of hope. It's a message of despair.
Absolutely. Absolutely. A message of despair. And when Martin Luther King III stands up there at the event honoring his father 50 years to the day, not 50 years to the day, but you know what I'm talking about, on Saturday, and brings in Trayvon Martin. And Al Sharpton, the great black civil rights leader, talks about canceled checks and we'll force them to give us the check or we'll close down the banks. All of this, hard work, caring, parenting, schooling, education, speaking the language properly, none of it was mentioned. Not by these two men, and that's a disgrace. We're coming back. We're going to be joined by Elizabeth I Miss Zero right here on the Steve Malzberg Show. And you know where it is. It's on Newsmax TV.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
Are you at least 62 years old like me? Could you use an extra $50,000, $100,000 or more to live a better life? Then please consider the benefits a reverse mortgage can provide to you. With a reverse mortgage, you can have your mortgage payments stopped altogether and get equity out of your home to live on. And you can use the money to help you live a better life. How nice would that be, not to have a mortgage payment? Qualifying for a reverse mortgage is simple, since there are no income, asset, employment, or credit requirements. However, you must be 62 years or older, own your home outright, or have a very low balance on the mortgage, and be prepared to live in it throughout the rest of the loan. Call now for more information.
800-831-1560. 800-831-1560. 800-831-1560. That's 800-831-1560.
Hey guys, do you know your testosterone level? You should. Each year, declining testosterone robs more of your energy, drive, motivation, and even your ability to perform in bed. Take control of your testosterone today. Write this number down because Progene, the leader in dual-action testosterone supplements, is now giving you a free supply if you call today at 800-592-4834. If you'd like to feel closer to 20 than 40 and get back that energy, drive, and confidence, call now to try Progene risk-free. Don't believe us? We'll even prove it works. Ask about our at-home testosterone test kits and see for yourself what Progene can do for you. Be one of the next 100 callers. We'll triple your order and send you a full 1-month supply of Progene for free. A $70 value for only the cost of shipping and handling. Call 800-592-4834 for details. Know your level and kick your drive back into gear with Progene. Call 800-592-4834. That's 800-592-4834. Again, 800-592-4834.
According to the FBI Uniform Crime Report, there are over 5,000 robberies every day. Your home could be at risk of being burglarized. Don't put your loved ones and valuables in jeopardy. For just over $1 per day, your home can be protected from break-ins, fire, and more. Get the latest home security technology from Protect Your Home, your ADT authorized dealer. Over 6 million households sleep better at night with ADT monitored home security. What's more, Protect Your Home is offering you their latest equipment, an $850 value, absolutely free for qualified customers. Protect your loved ones and home today. Call now for licenses and to find out more. The call is free, 1-800-949-8201. That's 1-800-949-8201. Again, 1-800-949-8201. $99 installation charge, 36-month monitoring agreement at $36.99 per month. Payment by credit card or electronic bank account charge. For new homeowner customers with satisfactory credit history only. Local permit fees may be required. Certain restrictions apply. Cannot be combined with any other offer.
Hi, this is Mike Reagan. Folks ask me, what would Ronald Reagan do if he were with us today? I believe the first thing he'd do is stop Obamacare. Already it's in effect with higher taxes, hidden fees, skyrocketing insurance rates, big Medicare cuts, and some insurance plans are hit with a 40% tax. Protect yourself by getting the Obamacare Survival Guide. It's already a #1 New York Times bestseller. Newsmax says it's the best guide to the new law, giving you the strategies, tips, and loopholes you need to know. If you're insured on Medicare, a business owner, a medical professional, just about anyone, you need this book. Get the #1 bestseller, The Obamacare Survival Guide, at bookstores everywhere. Or get our special $4.95 offer and save $15 off the cover price.
Scroll down now to claim your copy of Obamacare Survival Guide for the special internet offer of only $4.95.
This is not your typical Screamfest talk show.
No.
This is the next generation of talk radio. Here is Steve Malzberg.
All right, folks, welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show, and that's the beauty of this show. We go from, the March on Washington to a much lighter issue, and I'm very happy to be joined by Elizabeth Imus-Zero. She is a comedian, host, daughter of radio personality Don Imus, and also author of this really refreshing new book, Etiquette for Idiots and Other Stupid Stories. And I hold it up so the TV audience at Newsmax TV could see it, and I'll take it down. But congratulations on the book, and thanks for stopping in.
Thank you for having me, Steve. It's lovely to be here.
Well, thank you. Imus's daughter. Now, this has got to be the first question everybody asks, right?
Not the first, but they get around to
All right, well,
it.
I'm going to start with it because I grew up a radio nut here in New York, and, Quack Quack 66 WNBC before he was syndicated all over the place, of course. So what was it like? I mean, what are the benefits and what are the, the negative sides?
Well, it was great. The downside is that you grow up, hearing your dad just say anything to anyone, and you think you can get away with that. And of course, I was in my 20s before I realized people aren't paying me $1 million a year to be outrageous or funny, so you need to dial it back a little bit. But now they're starting to pay me to do that, so I'm like, cool.
You've done radio and all that, and the book, and so you are, I was going to say, but you are outrageous and funny in your own right.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm hopefully with good manners. But, a couple years ago, it never actually ever occurred to me to do radio because it seemed ridiculous. My dad's a huge radio celebrity. But a friend of mine said, you should do radio. Because I'm thinking, well, how can I use my talents as a writer and a producer and a comedian? And I thought, that sounds like fun. I'm just going to try it. So I've been doing it on my own, and I've been having a lot of success. And I've been doing it all on my own, which is it feels good.
It's
and
a whole new world out there.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, when Elizabeth walked into the studio, one of the first things she said, which means that I know she loves radio and is a radio person. She said, "Oh, look, big microphones."
I love
and
big
that's one thing I really wanted because as it's still a radio show on TV and a TV show on radio, but as a radio person, this microphone gives me a kind of a sense of radio security,
Well, and it also kind of feels like you're a rock star. Like you get up to the mic and you're like,
yeah.
So
well, I've never really picked it up and started, doing that.
I haven't done that either. But
I might one day. All right, so the book. What made you write Etiquette for Idiots? I know how it starts off. I know you're talking about the dinner parties you like to throw.
Right.
Which, if you ever throw one in New York, I'll leave my address on the way out. And then you can see what lack of etiquette I have.
Well, honestly, you've shown up. You've got a beautiful suit and a gorgeous tie. So
thank you.
Yeah,
Appreciate
so
that.
you're
Don't forget
already
the little hanky.
I see the hanky.
Oh, you
It's
don't like the hanky? You
I love it.
Oh, okay.
No, I love it.
Okay.
It's very lovely, and your manners are wonderful. Well, I'm a writer and a producer and a comedian. So, and I've been working in the theater and special features for DVDs and all that stuff. But I'm also a very good cook. I'm an excellent cook, actually, and I love.
If you say so yourself.
I am very good. And I love to throw dinner parties. I'm a host as well. I do a lot of live hosting of events and things like that. And I had a dinner party a while back, and this guest showed up, horribly just intoxicated and
that's
dressed
always a good way to start. Yeah.
inappropriately.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, this is what I'm going to blog about this week is, dinner party requirements for anyone who ever comes to my house ever again. And it was a big success on my blog. And I just started to write more etiquette rules, like ridiculous ones, like for dead people or for sociopaths or just whatever. And then my publisher said, well, this is great, but it needs to be at least 40,000 words. So I was like, well, I know, I'll just write some stupid stories about my life, and I'll cash in on the family name. I mean, there's been no nepotism in my family, so my career is totally, I'm mostly myself. My dad's helped a little bit with writing pointers and great advice as a father. But no phone calls or anything like that.
Right.
But I thought, well, people are interested in who he is, and he is my father, and it's interesting.
No, there's no reason to run away from that at all.
Yeah, no. So.
Yeah, all right, so etiquette for dead people. I mean, that struck me. What could you possibly want from the dead?
Well, if you die and you come back to life, don't go on and on about it. Like, we get it, okay? You saw the light or whatever. Now you're weird and creepy.
You mean people who have had quote unquote near-death experiences or death experiences?
Yeah, they don't stop talking about it.
How many of them do you know?
It's oddly, I run into a lot of strange.
I've never met one in my whole life.
No, but you see it on TV.
Yeah,
these people will not stop talking about it. If you know you're gonna die, like, don't tell us. Like, if you've got 6 months, give us like 2 weeks notice. That's all we need. Don't ruin it. So this is stupid stuff like that.
No,
don't make your family hold a car wash for you. Like, make advance. Like, plan it out. Pay for it.
Well, all right. Now, the stupid stories. I mean, the stupid stories come from your experiences?
Yeah, I mean, there is a story in there about growing up with my father, and it was actually, when you tell other people what really happened, they're like, oh, that's kind of unusual, and it's fun. Certainly, I don't, disrespect my parents.
No, you had a note to your dad on the back of the book. Where, by the way, it's paperback, and as you could see, it's got a real great, cute picture. Although, I think you should have put, what you should have put? Side by side, or at least side by side. What? Go ahead, in the back. Yeah, but or the back should have been the front because you're beautiful. So
thank you very much.
But that's just not to knock the publisher or its representative or anything.
And you're a good looker too, Steve. By the way.
Well, but you get a ring on your finger. So
I do. There's a Mr. Zero.
Hey.
Oh, you don't? Oh,
No,
well,
I don't.
ladies, pay attention here.
Anyway, well, you're very flattering. I appreciate that. You have proper etiquette. Would you say that if you didn't mean it? Is that proper etiquette to say that even if you don't mean it? Again, ruin my
what? That you're
compliment
good looking?
someone? Yeah. Is it proper etiquette to do that even if you don't mean it?
No, it's never proper etiquette to lie.
All right, well, that makes me feel good because having written the book, I know you wouldn't.
And I'm calling the media out and our government for all the lies that's another thing.
I do want to get political. I want to ask how political you are, but I did want to finish what I started.
Okay.
You wrote to your dad, you're sorry about some of the stuff you put in the book about him, but you didn't reveal personal secrets. But if he leaves you out of the will, you know where the bodies are buried. So how much did you talk about your dad in the book?
Well, you'll have to read the book.
All right, give me one. Tease us a little bit.
No, but he did. He's very private. So he actually was not happy about it. But he said, hey, I love you. I hope your book does well, whatever. He said, what did he say? The dogs bark and the caravan moves on or something. He doesn't care. I didn't say anything that's like horrible that he hasn't already admitted to. But it's funny, I think, and people like it. And what I like to do is I not only love to make people laugh and entertain them, I like to connect with them. So even if it's like a sad story, and I reveal a lot, but I'm about telling the truth and standing up for the truth and connecting with people on a real level. And it's helped. So many people have emailed me already or messaged me on my website, elizabethzero.com. They write really sweet messages like, oh, I'm going through a hard time, and I really connected with what you said, and
That's
that to
great.
me is so lovely.
Absolutely.
So.
Well, the book is, we're not finished, Etiquette for Idiots. Elizabeth, I'm Miss Zero. Zero, is that your married name?
Yeah, there's a Mr. Zero. It's Italian. It's
really?
Zero. It's pronounced Zero, but they say Zero.
Oh, okay. Because
I
had asked Chad, my producer, originally. I said, we're gonna have Elizabeth Zero. It's Imus's daughter. I said, Elizabeth Zero. Is that like some kind of slang name for the internet or something? He said, yeah, probably. No, that's cool.
Yeah, no. People are like, is that your stage name? I'm like, why would I pick Zero?
So
like,
Zero. Zero.
Well, we say 0,
Okay,
but
all right.
I guess in Italy they said that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not
all right.
Italian.
All right, so now let me ask you this. Your dad, here's the thing. I'm not asking you to say if what your dad said was right or wrong, or you could weigh in on it.
Yeah.
But when he had the problem and he got let go,
Oh, yeah.
you know what gets me? Having to run to Al Sharpton. No. We just played in the previous segment some Al Sharpton sound bites.
Yeah.
Here's a guy.
He needs to be deported.
Here's a guy with a history
Yeah.
of the most racist, Greek homos, Jewish this, black
Oh,
that.
right.
He called David Dinkins the N-word. I mean, white interloper, the whole Tawana Brawley, the whole history. He runs for president. He's up there on the stage with all the Democratic candidates. He has a radio show. He's on MSNBC. And you gotta please Al. Al Sharpton will determine if you're white, if you should work or not work.
Yeah.
How did that ever happen to this country?
Well, I'm here plugging my book, but I'm going to plug Greg Gutfeld's book, The Joy of Hate. I don't know if you had a chance to read it yet,
Greg's
but
a
it's
great guy,
brilliant,
yeah.
and it talks about how the media is lies and how we've been, as conservatives or libertarians or whatever, if you have any view that's not in line with the liberal agenda, and you say anything, you're racist.
Absolutely.
And I believe that it really came to a head and it fell upon my father's shoulders. And I'm certainly not going to discuss what he did or how he
that's
handled
what I'm just
it.
saying.
That's
I'm
for
talking
him.
about, yeah.
But in my personal opinion, that's been going on for a while, and it finally seems like to me that it's coming to an end, and people are stopping and not apologizing anymore and saying, hey, and not that he was wrong or right to do it, but standing up and saying, hey, this is wrong. You cannot, when somebody calls you a racist, you can't defend that. I mean, how do you come back from that? And
it's like the proverbial. I think it was Dallas Green or somebody once said, it's like the question, when did you stop beating your wife?
Exactly.
What do you
Yes.
I never, you don't answer that. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's a stupid question.
Yeah, and I think if we just can really encourage our politicians to be honest and just to be, and for people to be who they are.
Yeah.
And hey, judge me and everything in that book. People are going to come at me and attack me, and you know what? I've already done it. I've already spilled the beans. You can't hurt me. You can't get to me. But I am going to stand up for the truth, and I'm going to be honest. And
are you conservative? You sound more conservative than liberal.
I actually moved to California when I was 18, and I rebelled into conservatism. So, but I've after I have 2 adult children, I have a 25-year-old son and a 23-year-old.
Which I told you I can't believe. I mean, look at this woman. She has a 25-year-old son. Unbelievable. Yeah.
Thank you. And a 23-year-old daughter, and they're wonderful and they're amazing people. But after raising, having a family and being married for 20 some odd years, I've dialed it back a little bit, but what I'm really for is for our freedom and for not no government control, but less government.
Libertarian, then.
Yeah,
I guess.
I'm a libertarian. So I have a lot of liberal views. I support gay marriage. I'm, a woman's right to choose, and I have justification for that. Although I do understand and believe what the Bible says, but I still believe, God has given us free will, period, and it's our decision, and I'm accountable to God and to no one else, not to the government, not to my dad or anybody,
Right. Okay, so I don't want to get into abortion.
I know, right. Because, sorry, went down that road.
No. And when you see, do you judge and watch or have any kind of focus in your mind, consciously or unconsciously, famous children of other famous people and see how they act, like Meghan McCain or any of these people? Do you ever watch them and say, and do you what do you think of these people? I mean,
well, I try honestly.
Do you sit there and judge in your own mind? Again, maybe not verbalizing to others, but do you say, her father must be ashamed of her, or her father must be proud of her, or she shouldn't say that? I mean, not her, but anybody.
I mean, I really try not to judge people, especially if I don't know them. Sure, I have an opinion about this person or that person, but
who do you have an opinion of?
Well, I think you're fantastic. Let's start with you.
Come on, but famous. My dad, may he rest in peace, wasn't famous. You got a famous person's sibling that you have an opinion of? That comes to mind right now?
No, not really.
What do you think of Meghan McCain? Anything?
I think she's lovely. I think she's fine. I think, I don't know her personally. I don't really follow. I think, there are certain people in the industry that, certainly have benefited from nepotism. And, one of the great things that my father doesn't do is he doesn't just hand me a check or make a phone call. And it's caused me to, and this is how I believe our government should govern our country. It's the way that I parented my children. And it's, you don't hand them everything, you don't give them everything, because it robs them the opportunity to learn and to grow.
Culture of dependency.
Yeah, and to become, when I got into radio, I went and took a class and I learned how to work the board op. I can do engineering. I mean, it's not nothing
Watch
like
out, guys.
nothing like something as technical as what you guys have, but like a basic board.
Right, yeah.
And then I had to go and I did public radio,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm on sometimes with Geraldo and with Doug McIntyre on KBC, but it wasn't through my dad's connections. It's because I called 50 radio stations, and I had to go, and it's humbling, because you're like, you're Imus's daughter, why don't you? But no, but that's where you develop your craft as a creative person, and it's a passion. And I think if we just continue to hand things out to Americans the way that we are, it's crippling our country.
Absolutely, it's creating a culture of dependency. It keeps people voting for the same people who are only making it worse. Because if you remember the Obama phone lady, I don't know if you remember the Obama phone.
Absolutely,
oh my
it's
God,
horrifying.
and it's only gotten worse. I mean, look, they say we're in a recovery, but there are fewer people involved in the workforce than ever before. People who had full-time jobs are now working part-time jobs, or people have given up. The new normal is now part-time jobs. This Obamacare is coming into effect, and people are laying people off to cutting their hours down below the threshold so that they won't have to participate in Obamacare.
Right.
And and the media is covering the royal baby.
Right.
It's just
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah,
The
I
media-
actually
the media
stopped
must-
watching TV, and I just realized, there was a boy. I don't even know.
Yeah, that's a long time to stop watching TV.
Yeah.
No, but so you're libertarian. What do you think of legalizing drugs? What do you think of marijuana?
I think marijuana's fine. I think that
I just
it
had the
should
Martha
be legal.
Stewart, quote unquote,
Yeah.
self-proclaimed of marijuana from California on the show
Oh, right.
the other day. But you think marijuana's fine? You don't think it's a gateway drug at all? You want your kids smoking marijuana when they were 18, 19, when they turn?
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
But it's their choice, and it's our freedom to do that. I think alcohol is much worse. I've seen drugs. I've seen my father is an admitted drug addict and alcoholic. I've been covering 20 plus years, and I've seen what they do. I know what they do. I've tried them, and I understand what those things are. And I think that certainly heroin and cocaine and those things that actually can kill you, I don't believe should be legal. But one person dies it's either every 5 minutes or 15 minutes. I apologize. I don't know the exact. I can't do numbers.
That's bad etiquette.
But I know, right?
Yeah.
But from prescription pill overdose, and when you get to be my age, which is 40-ish, the women are on these pills, and they're killing Americans. Nobody's ever died from marijuana, and there's no toxicity. Alcohol, I can't stand going out and hanging out with people drinking alcohol.
No.
Drunks, they're a mess.
I agree. And my argument back, and I don't want to get into this, but
Sure.
my argument is, I agree, but why then put something else out there in the market? I mean, marijuana is a mind-altering drug, one way or another, and whether someone's ever died from it or gotten lung cancer from it or not, I mean, we could debate that. But it does have long-term effects on the brain. I mean, people have smoked pot all their lives.
Yeah,
you can tell.
But what about that? Well, see, this is the thing. You don't turn into a pothead. You don't drink alcohol all day long. You don't take pills all day long. You don't smoke marijuana. Nothing. Everything has to be in moderation. And you have people taking pills that are killing them. And the reason why marijuana is not legal is because the drug companies don't want you to grow a plant in your backyard for free that can cure your nausea if you're getting over cancer, that can help, that can just chill you out. They want to give you a prescription for Valium, and you can be some housewife in the suburbs doped up on a
Mother's
Xanax
little helper, right?
and that stuff is not cool. It's messed up.
Folks, Etiquette for Idiots and Other Stupid Stories by Elizabeth Imus Zero. Right here on the Steve Malzberg Show. If you come back into town in a couple of weeks, come back up.
Oh, I would love to, Steve.
We could
and
do
let's
that.
have dinner too.
And there you go.
I'll take you out. We won't tell Mr. Zero.
All right. Pleasure to meet you, really.
Thank
We're coming
you.
back, folks. Chris Christie, you won't believe where he was inducted over the weekend. And he wore white pants, and for some reason he's getting a lot of flack. Bad etiquette to wear white pants when you're inducted into anything, right?
Well, it's not Labor Day yet, so
Right.
I snuck in some white pants
All right,
the other
all right,
day.
but-
a
and-
guy, white pants, no.
And Rex Ryan, what he did to Mark Sanchez, you're going to want to hear this and see what Ryan had to say. I think he's a little on the Steve Malzberg Show on Newsmax TV.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
Bad credit card debt happens to good people. Credit card companies lure you in with low introductory rates or low minimum payments, and before you know it, you owe thousands of dollars in credit card debt. It has happened to millions of good people just like you. But here's the good news. Thanks to a powerful program now approved, anyone with $2,000 or more in credit card debt can cut their credit card payments up to half and even reduce or eliminate interest charges altogether. That's right. Our nationwide nonprofit program is helping U.S. residents cut their credit card payments. Call 800-613-3159 now. The call and information are free. We've helped over 500,000 people with their credit card debt, and now we can help you. Call 800-613-3159 to see how this powerful nonprofit program can work for you. Bad credit card debt happens to good people. Get free of credit card debt today. Call 800-613-3159. That's 800-613-3159. Again, 800-613-3159.
Hi, this is Dick Morris. Obamacare is taking full effect this year with over 15,000 pages of regulations. You need to know how this law affects you. That's why you should get your copy of Obamacare Survival Guide. It's easy to read and the best guide to the new law. Even if you're currently insured or a senior on Medicare or a business owner, a medical professional, or really any citizen, you need the Obamacare Survival Guide. In it, you'll find about hidden taxes, fees, and fines, including a 40% tax on some health plans. I warned you about Obamacare. It's rationing, Medicare cuts, and will trigger doctor shortages. Now the Obamacare Survival Guide gives you the simple steps to protect your family. So get the Obamacare Survival Guide at bookstores everywhere. It's already a #1 Amazon bestseller. Or get our special $4.95 offer and save $15 today by going to Obamacare911.com. Obamacare911.com. That's Obamacare911.com.
Drug, alcohol, and gambling addiction can be devastating for you and your loved ones. Don't let the disease of addiction ruin everything you've worked so hard for. The Treatment Helpline has helped thousands of people just like you take control of their addictions and live healthier, cleaner, and happier lives. You are not alone. Now there's hope. The Treatment Helpline has helped people just like you overcome their addiction. If you or a loved one is suffering from a drug, alcohol, or gambling addiction, let us help you today. Call 1-800-813-9821. Our seasoned addiction treatment professionals can show you how to use your private health insurance to help cover the costs of this life-changing program. Call now and get a free confidential consultation. 1-800-813-9821. That's 1-800-813-9821. Help is only a phone call away. Call 1-800-813-9821. That's 1-800-813-9821.
We're in the midst of an obesity epidemic, and I'm not surprised. The statistics on obesity mirror an increasing trend of eating out or ordering in. In fact, some people dine out every night, but eating in restaurants is one of the biggest enemies of your heart. When you're in a restaurant, you don't really know what you're getting, and the calorie counts of many restaurant dishes are astronomical. In fact, some single dishes contain more calories than we should eat in an entire day. Eating in fast food restaurants is even worse. A diet of hamburgers, French fries, and shakes constitutes a fast lane to the emergency room. If you really want to help your heart, get in the habit of cooking simple meals at home. Here are 3 easy tips that will make your food taste better than even the best restaurant. Choose the best fruit in season. Your local farmer's market is a great place to start. It will probably still cost less than that pie you were thinking of buying. Get in the habit of using fresh herbs. You can use them in egg white omelets or dust them on the fish you grill or bake. And for a light dessert, choose a square or 2 of dark chocolate that you and your spouse can enjoy. There are lots of ways to make your heart healthy, but there are also lots of ways to damage it. That's why I wrote Fix It, Dr. Crandall's 90-day program. In it, I'll tell you how to kickstart your metabolism every day, how to pick the best diet for you, how to stop hunger from sabotaging your diet, the 7 superfoods for your heart. I'm Dr. Chauncey Crandall, and thanks for watching this Heart Health Minute.
The Steve Malzberg Show is just a bit different from the other radio shows. We have TV cameras. Watch the show at Newsmax.com or listen on your favorite radio station. Here's Steve Malzberg.
All right, folks, welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show. And in your honor, WCTC, our newest affiliate, I would talk about this probably anyway. Chris Christie was inducted into the Little League Hall of Fame. And you got to hear this. You really have to hear this. Actually, the Little League Hall of Excellence. I want you to listen to him. This is cut number 23 over the weekend in Williamsport.
As I was traveling here today, I was text messaging back and forth with my younger brother, trading names of the other guys who were on the teams with me in Harlem. We were going back and forth with names like Marcello Bonvini and Henry Deeren and other folks that we played with, and thinking that today, if they're actually watching this, they cannot believe that Coben and I are going into the Little League Hall of Excellence.
All right, basically, he was texting back and forth with his brother, and they were talking about they couldn't believe some of the names of the guys they played with in the Little League. Supposedly, they made it almost to the championship game of the Little League World Series way back when he was playing. But the thing is, not all you just have to be famous and have played in Little League. Dick Vitale was recently inducted. He played in Garfield, New Jersey, from what I understand. Kyle Petty, he played. Joe Biden, he played Little League, and he was inducted into the Little League Hall of Excellence. This was in Williamsport, PA, right before the championship game of Little League World Series over the weekend when Christie got inducted. Chris Drury, he helped his Connecticut team, the Ranger, he helped his Connecticut team win the Little League World Series, from what I understand. He got inducted. And in 2011, Private First Class Ross McGinnis served in the U.S. Army. On December 4th, 2006, he was killed. He was one of two Medal of Honor winners who received that Medal of Honor posthumously for what he did to help save his comrades. So he was inducted. But Chris Christie wearing white pants. So what's all the we'll get to Rex Ryan later because I don't really have the time right now. Most of you probably know what he did, the controversy with Mark Sanchez. We'll get to that in the next hour, I promise. But Chris Christie wore white pants at this induction ceremony. So people are like freaking out online that he wore white pants. I don't understand what the problem is, but I don't know. Do guys wear white pants unless they're retired in Florida? No, guys don't wear white pants. So I don't know what he was doing with the white pants. Especially he's a little overweight. Maybe you shouldn't be wearing white pants. We're coming back, folks. Hour number 1 in the books. Steve Malzberg Show right here on Newsmax TV. Don't go away.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
If you are successful at what you do, whether you're a doctor, a lawyer, a business owner, or you have a great career, you understand the concept of protecting yourself. Well, are you protecting yourself, your family, and your assets with quality term life insurance? Consider these possible rates. A man age 45 non-tobacco user could obtain $1 million of coverage for as little as $75 a month. And this rate is fixed for the next 10 years. We specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. A man age 50 non-tobacco user may be able to obtain $500,000 of coverage for as little as $115 a month. And this rate is fixed for the next 20 years. We have great rates for smokers too. Call the Term Lifeline now. 800-430-1309, 800-430-1309, 800-430-1309.
If your prostate is giving you problems and your doc says it's just part of getting older, be wary. Renowned physician and author Dr. David Brownstein thinks this is baloney. He's discovered a link between aging and prostate health and believes prostate concerns do not have to be an inevitable part of aging. That's why he created Prostate Revive.
Hi, I'm Dr. David Brownstein. I personally formulated Prostate Revive to include the most essential natural ingredients available to help promote a healthy prostate gland and optimal urinary function.
The producers of Dr. Brownstein Brownstein's Prostate Revive are so thrilled with the positive feedback from satisfied customers that for a limited time, they are willing to send you your first month's supply free. Plus, call now and you'll also receive Dr. Brownstein's special report, A Doctor's Guide to a Healthy Prostate. For details on getting your free bottle, call 1-800-596-REVIVE. That's 1-800-596-REVIVE. Take control with Prostate Revive. Call now while supplies last to claim your risk-free bottle at 1-800-596-REVIVE.
Hello and welcome to your Newsmax Now update. I'm Kathleen Walter. Syria has finally relented and allowed UN inspectors to visit the site of an alleged chemical weapons attack. UN inspectors in Syria moved through Damascus this morning to investigate claims of a chemical weapons attack. Snipers fired at the lead vehicle in the convoy. More than 300 people died last week when rockets armed with what appeared to be a toxic gas struck a rebel-held area of the capital city. Here in the U.S., Senator John McCain and other lawmakers are calling for the U.S. military to intervene.
If the United States stands by and doesn't take very serious action, not just launching some cruise missiles, then again, our credibility in the world is diminished even more, if there's any left.
The White House is said to be considering various military options if it is confirmed the Syrian government authorized the attack. The wildfire near the Yosemite National Forest in California is still burning out of control. The rim fire has grown to almost 144,000 acres and is only 7% contained. More than 3,400 firefighters are battling to put in some containment lines.
These firefighters are amazing and that they'll keep us protected.
Pretty impressive. It looks like they're a really coordinated effort, and it's kind of comforting to see. Same rate, a little scary.
Knowing exactly where it's going to go with the wind is a little unpredictable.
The blaze is so large it can be seen from space, and the smoke has drifted all the way from California to Reno, Nevada. A rodeo clown whose controversial Missouri State Fair antics went viral after wearing a President Barack Obama mask is speaking out. Tuffy Gessling has apologized, but he says President Obama was treated no differently than other presidents who were mocked in past acts.
This clown bit has been around for generations. And I didn't think anything more of it than what we've done 15 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, when we've done it with Bush and Clinton and Ronald Reagan.
The Missouri State Fair today announced that it permanently banned the rodeo clown. And the first woman to become a member of the New York Stock Exchange has died. Muriel Siebert bought a seat on the male-dominated exchange in December of 1967. She founded her own brokerage firm and was the first woman superintendent of banking for the state of New York. Muriel Siebert died this weekend from cancer at a New York hospital. She was 80 years old. Here's what's next on Newsmax Now. Texas is fighting back against Eric Holder on voting rights. Texas Attorney General Greg Abbott explains. Plus, a U.S. Army sergeant today receives the Medal of Honor. His heroic acts coming up.
In 2013, half of your friends, family, and neighbors may lose their jobs, all while you are robbed of 90% of your life savings, investments, and home's value. Controversial economist Robert Wiedemer, who was the only expert to predict the recession, has released a startling video with shocking evidence that the powers that be have tried to ban. But that hasn't stopped 50 million people from getting the truth. Watch it at AftershockVideo.com. AftershockVideo.com. In 2013, half of your friends, family, and neighbors may lose their jobs, all while you are robbed of 90% of your life savings, investments, and home's value. Controversial economist Robert Wiedemer, who was the only expert to predict the recession, has released a startling video with shocking evidence that the powers that be have tried to ban. But that hasn't stopped 50 million people from getting the truth. Watch it at Aftershock911.com. Aftershock911.com.
150 million people suffer from headaches. All you want is for the pounding in your head to stop. Migralex stops the pounding. Migralex was developed by a neurologist and founder of the New York Headache Center.
I'm neurologist Dr. Alex Malzberg. After studying and researching the human brain for 25 years, I've developed Migralex, which eliminates pounding headaches. It works for my patients, and I'm so convinced it will work for you. I don't just guarantee it, I put my name on it.
Dr. Malzberg's Migralex gets rid of headaches fast without harsh caffeine, sodium, or preservatives.
Migralex works unbelievably fast, and it's gentle on my stomach.
Find out how to get your free bottle of Migralex. Call 800-532-2967. Plus, if you're one of the first 100 callers, you'll also receive the Migralex Quick Tips to Headache Relief absolutely free. That's 800-532-2967. Or go to migralexrelief.com. MIGRALEX relief.com. Or call 800-532-2967.
And welcome back. Don't mess with Texas. That's according to Texas Attorney General Greg Abbott, who says he's prepared for a fight after Attorney General Eric Holder slapped the Lone Star State with a lawsuit over voter ID laws.
So this is something that's very dangerously real, something that must be stopped. We're using every tool to try to stop voter fraud, and the Obama administration is trying to use every tool to prevent us from stopping voter fraud.
President Obama today awarding the Medal of Honor to Staff Sergeant Ty Carter at the White House. Carter is being honored for his actions during the Battle of Camp Dash, where more than 300 Taliban fighters attacked an army outpost. Clint Romesha was also awarded the Medal of Honor for his actions during the same battle. And to see more of our exclusive interviews and content, stay with Newsmax.com. This has been your Newsmax Now update for August 26th. I'm Kathleen Walter. Now, here's the Steve Malzberg Show in New York.
Are you ready?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studios, this is the Steve Malzberg Show. Be a part of the action by calling 855-777-9660. That's 855-777-9660. Or email Steve at malzbergshow@newsmax.com. Here is Steve Malzberg.
All right, folks, welcome. Hour number 2 of the Steve Malzberg Show. And coming up in this hour, we're going to take a look at the movie The Butler. And we're going to hear how it allegedly distorts race relations. So that should be very interesting. And then we're going to delve into the Syrian situation with Lieutenant Colonel Rick Francona, retired U.S. Air Force intelligence officer and former attaché to the U.S. Embassy in Damascus. He will join us and talk about what John Kerry had to say today and what the anticipated response to the chemical weapons attack of last week in Syria might be. And how do we know that it was the Assad government that did it? All that straight ahead. But first, some good news. Remember the name Sarah Murnigan. She's the 10-year-old girl from Pennsylvania who needed a lung transplant, and she couldn't get one because they wouldn't put her on the adult list because she was 10. And the court finally ordered, even though Kathleen Sebelius wouldn't do it, the court finally ordered that she be put on the list, and she got the lung transplant. And her family says that she's going to be leaving the hospital. What a great, great, uplifting story. And, boy, what a miracle. Now, her mother said yesterday that her daughter had been taken off of oxygen, although she still gets support from a machine that helps her to breathe. And has started to walk with the aid of a walker. She's a very sick little girl, but she's a little girl now with a chance, with a life. And she had end-stage cystic fibrosis. She got the transplants in June, and we wish her all the best. And as soon as she does get out of the hospital, we will let you know. And maybe we'll even get a chance to talk to the parents of the 11-year-old, 10-year-old girl. Just a miracle story. Okay, I want to talk about this rodeo clown. Do you remember the rodeo clown? Do you remember? Okay, it was about 2 weeks ago or so. This rodeo clown at the state fair in, was it Missouri? And he had on an Obama mask. And the announcer said, all right, it looks like our president, Barack Obama's joined us, and the bull chased the Obama clown around and blah, 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 blah. The clown got banned for life. He got fired. The announcer had to quit and got fired. And just all hell broke loose. Sensitivity training will be undertaken by the rodeo employees before they're allowed back at the state fair. All kinds of, nutty stuff, crazy stuff. And by the way, you want to weigh in on this? I'd love to hear from you real quick. 855-777-9660. 855-777-9660. Especially, no matter where you're listening, but especially if you're listening on our new affiliate, WCTC, in the great state of New Jersey, 1450 AM on your dial. Proud to be on that great station. Okay, so Tuffy Gessling. That's the guy's name, Tuffy Gessling. Tuffy Gessling is getting all kinds of threats. I want you to listen to this report, and this is part of the report. This is Gessling cut number 26.
I've had one lady spit in my face, called me a dirty name, spit in my face, and walked off.
And he says there have been 5 death threats.
So I've had somebody threaten to run me over. One of them wanted to burn the house down. I didn't do this to...
Okay. One death threat said they're going to burn his house down. One old lady wanted to run him over. Can you believe this? I mean, this is America. The guy had on an Obama clown mask. Let's get to the rest of it before we start analyzing. Let's go to cut 27.
I didn't do this to do any hating on anyone. I did it to be funny. I did it to be a joke. This clown bit has been around for generations, and I didn't think anything more of it than what we've done 15 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, when we've done it with Bush and Clinton and Ronald Reagan.
Okay, so it's been done before. We told you that. We pulled out the picture of the George H.W. Bush mask that had been worn at that rodeo in the past. And they actually put that mask on a dummy and let the bull fling it around at the time. So, this is just much ado about nothing. But again, here's cut to 28, final soundbite of the piece.
This time, race entered the equation. A white man dressed in a mask of our black president was just offensive to a lot of people.
I never did anything because of anybody's race. I don't care what color somebody is, if they're blue, white, green, polka dotted, striped. It doesn't bother me one bit.
He adds it's not about politics either. Are you a Democrat or a Republican?
I am a rodeo clown.
To Gessling, it's a matter of perspective.
I actually think that a lot of people have lost their ability to laugh. Look at the country as a whole. There's a lot more to be mad at than a rodeo clown at a rodeo trying to make somebody laugh.
Yep. Absolutely, folks. I mean, my goodness. And it wouldn't be so bad. Probably the worst thing about it, besides the death threats and him losing his job and other people losing their job and the sensitivity training. Sensitivity? What kind of sensitivity training? What, that you can't put on a mask of anybody who's black? Is that going to be the sensitivity training they're taking? Or you can't put on the mask of any president? I mean, what kind of sensitivity are we talking about? Anyway, I was going to make a silly joke about tooth sensitivity, but I did not do that because I couldn't think of one quickly enough. Aside from that, it's just we don't laugh as much. So the worst part of it, as I was starting to say, was that the White House weighed in on that at the time. The White House press spokesman, I don't think it was Carney, whoever it was, it might have been Carney, said, if I recall correctly, it wasn't the country's best day. What Carney or whoever else it was should have said was, what, are you kidding me? I'm going to weigh in on a rodeo clown? You think the president or I or the White House cares about a rodeo clown? Heck, it's a rodeo clown. But no, wasn't one of the country's best days, which, speaks volumes about what this administration thinks, who they are. And, again, if it never happened before, if they didn't make a movie about Bush showing him getting assassinated while he was still president, I mean, don't make me read the list that goes on and on and on and on. Oh, and how about the double standard? This is cut 4, folks, cut 4. Now, last week I played you a whole bunch of Obama gaffes related to sports. The latest one was when he had the 72, 73, I can't remember, the Miami Dolphins, the undefeated Dolphins team, to the White House last week, and he was thanking Don Shula for being there, and Tim Robbie. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, Tim Robbie, but he called him Tim Roby. Okay? Now, everybody knows Joe Robbie Stadium. Joe Robbie had owned the Dolphins. They played at Joe Robbie Stadium for a long time. So Tim Robbie was there, not Tim Roby. But he called him Tim Roby. And, of course, the media, I'm the only one who ever picked up on it or said anything about it. He called where the White Sox played Comiskey Park, Kaminsky Field. He called the Miami Heat the Miami Heats. He couldn't name one single White Sox player. I played all that last week. I played the Jay Leno flubs where he said the Gulf Coast includes Jacksonville and Charlotte, where he said that the KGB was once headed by Putin, and where he lamented the fact that more people die in car accidents than terrorist attacks. He had the right place in his heart, but he said it all wrong. My point being, Bush gets killed for those things and used to, get lambasted throughout the media. Obama, they don't talk about it. And here's another one. He's at Binghamton University, and he talked about reducing spending on government programs. And here's what he said in cut 4.
Some of the proposals we've seen now are talking about even deeper cuts in programs like Head Start, even deeper cuts in education support, even deeper cuts in basic science and research. And, that's like eating your corn seed. It's like being penny wise and pound foolish.
All right. He got penny wise and pound foolish out correctly. But unfortunately for the president, and being from Illinois, he should know this, but then being a White Sox fan, he should know they played in Comiskey Park, not Kaminsky Field. It's not eating your corn seed. That's not the expression. It's not eating your corn seed. It's like eating your seed corn. He got it backwards. Shh. Stop picking on him. Don't say anything. You're mean. You hate the president. No, I'm entertained by the guy actually right now. But I just wish we could all be entertained. I wish the whole media would point out all the gaffes the guy makes. All right, we're coming back, and we're going to talk about the movie The Butler and why it misrepresents race relations right here on the Steve Malzberg Show on Newsmax TV.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
This is a referral service. Calls will be routed to an independent referral insurance agency. Do you know the number one cause of bankruptcy? No, it's not losing your job or running up credit card debt. It's not even divorce. It's medical costs. If you and your family don't have health insurance, just one serious illness or accident could be financially devastating. But now there's good news, really good news. A health insurance hotline has been established to provide health insurance for all Americans, even uninsured Americans with pre-existing conditions. Now anyone can get health insurance even if you have a pre-existing medical condition. I repeat, now anyone can get health insurance coverage. Call now for a free no-obligation quote on affordable health plans available to you. Again, this is a free hotline for anyone, even if you have pre-existing conditions. Protect you and your family from sudden unexpected medical costs. Call the free health insurance hotline right now at 1-800-910-3470. That's 1-800-910-3470. Call 1-800-910-3470.
Hello, my name is Fred Fleitz, and I'm the managing editor of LigNet. You've probably seen our name preceding some of the stories you read on Newsmax or heard LigNet referenced on Fox News, C-SPAN, or CNN. Perhaps you've asked yourself, what is LigNet? LigNet is an acronym for the Langley Intelligence Group Network, a private Washington, D.C. based service that provides global intelligence, in-depth analysis, and detailed forecasting. LigNet staff and advisors include former CIA officers, national security experts, presidential advisors, and top-level government officials from around the world. I myself held several national security posts for the U.S. government during my 25-year career with the Central Intelligence Agency, the Defense Intelligence Agency, the U.S. Department of State, and the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence. Our lead advisor is General Michael Hayden, the former director of the CIA. He is joined by former U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations John Bolton and former chairman of the National Intelligence Council and Special Assistant to President Ronald Reagan Fritz Ehrmann, former U.S. Ambassador to Venezuela Otto Reich, and former clandestine service officer Frederick Russman. Former chairman of the House Intelligence Committee Peter Hoekstra also joined our advisory board staff. Every day, our goal is to use our expertise, our resources, and our worldwide staff to take the pulse of the ever-changing political and economic landscape and the threats we face on a daily basis. Whether you are following global events for your portfolio or business, or just interested in the world around you, LigNet provides what you need to know to keep up with global events. There are many. Every day, LigNet members receive the Morning Brief, a daily email that provides summaries and links to our daily analysis to keep you up to date on LigNet's assessments. LigNet members receive unrestricted access to LigNet's secure database of global analysis. All of our special reports, previous analyses, and exclusive video interviews with intelligence insiders are available to members 24 hours a day. But you also get top-notch analysis that resembles the President's Daily Brief, the classified intelligence assessment delivered to the President of the United States every morning. LigNet also sends breaking news emails to our membership list. If there is a development of global proportions or a terror alert, our subscribers are always the first to know. I hope you now have a better understanding of what LigNet is, but more importantly, recognize how truly invaluable LigNet can be. As the old saying goes, knowledge is power.
Join LigNet for $1. Go to lignet.com.
Breaking news and breaking hearts. Aww. This is the Steve Malzberg Show.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know. Welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show, the obligatory welcome back. I don't know how many of you have seen the movie The Butler with Oprah Winfrey. I have not. I will be perfectly honest, I have not. But joining us right now is a man who has written a great piece picked up by Drudge and causing quite a stir, and rightfully so. Richard A. Epstein, the Peter and Kirsten Bedford Senior Fellow at the Hoover Institute, joins us live in studio. He thought it was radio. Yeah, he left his tuxedo at home.
Actually, I left my tie at home, but we'll just have to make
It's great to have you here. You look fine.
Nice.
You look fine. Thank you for coming up.
My pleasure.
So let's talk about this. In what way, as you say in your brilliant piece, that The Butler distorts race relations? How so?
Well, let's first begin with the movie.
Yes.
It's a movie which is an unparalleled success. Forrest Whitaker's a great actor. How do we say it? My God, what is her name again?
Oprah Winfrey?
Oprah Winfrey, yeah. Slip of the mind. She's a fine actress. The supporting cast is great. So as drama, it's fine. The question, though, is what it tells you about race relations in the United States. And in terms of the objectives that were set out in the early 1960s and compared to the state of the world as it existed in the mid-1950s, when the movie begins, which with a Little Rock confrontation. The whole situation had completely turned over by the time that Reagan had become president and left. And it was a bipartisan kind of consensus that the sort of rigid segregationist attitudes that existed in the South could no longer survive. And the real Butler who was involved in this particular case, a man named Eugene Allen, had a really very different view of the world. He had started low, ended high, was great friends with all the presidents who had been in office, and didn't leave to go on political protest routes, but left because he was retiring at age 67. When they do this movie, what they do is they add in an extra son to the fictional Butler who becomes a protest leader who's sort of a little bit like Zelig. Every time there's trouble, he's there, whether it's in Nashville or Alabama or in Oakland and so forth. And there's a decided downbeat cast that there's only superficial change in the way in which the United States has been organized, but deep down a lot of this sort of unconscious stains of racism still remain. And I think the distortion about this underestimates the huge transformation in social attitudes between the two times. I was old enough to remember Brown v. Board of Education. I was 11 at the time. And, you know, Mr. Greenberg, my sixth grade teacher, said this is an extraordinary event in American life, a transformation of all that went behind it. And somehow or other, the level of the achievement seems to be lost. And it also, I think, is lost for yet another reason, which is one of the things about the early civil rights movement is it was designed to remove barriers to segregation. And as a legal task, getting rid of a barrier just means to get rid of something, and it's pretty easy to implement. trying to do the positive agenda, create jobs and create perfect schools and so forth, is much more difficult to do. And so the difficulty that the civil rights movement has, along with all Americans, is that after you get the great low-hanging fruit, what do you do for your second act? And it's much more difficult to achieve. And Martin Luther King had no particular expertise on labor relationships or public education and so forth. He was a visionary. He was a man who made the first huge and vital step in American transformation, for which he's duly revered. But the second stage comes harder, and I think what this movie starts to suggest is that there's something wrong with the way in which society has worked, rather than to recognize that these are really very, very serious problems that elude simple solutions, or to put it in more technical terms, de jure, that is changing things as a matter of law relatively easy. But de facto, changing the complex patterns of social interactions is really much harder to come by.
And we're talking to obviously a very brilliant Richard Epstein of the Hoover Institute here on the Steve Malzberg Show about his piece, The Butler Distorts Race Relations. In addition to taking these complexities and trying to put them in simplistic light, they also misrepresent what actually happened. And you alluded to some of that. But for instance, in the movie, he watches his mother's boss rape his mother, but in reality, that never even happened.
Yeah, I mean, look, this was a hard knock story, and what they did is they portrayed this as beginning on a plantation or a farm in Georgia, in which this poor boy watches his mother raped and his father murdered in cold blood. And in fact, the Eugene Allen character was a man who was born in Virginia and by dint of hard work worked his way up. And one of the things that you discover is that movies need drama, and that life essentially is much more successful when the mundane turns out to work out the way in which you would. So to me, the huge transformation of the civil rights movement was that it meant that people who engaged in hard work for themselves and for their families and for their friends could in fact rise up without the state coming back and beating them. I mean,
which could have been the message.
And it is a message that you want, and it is certainly one of the messages, but it gets lost, I think, in the discussions later on, because it's somehow or other when you do this, you don't see a guy who rises up, and in fact they talk about wage differentials that probably didn't exist between white and black workers, and they make him as a man who can't make a promotion, whereas in fact Allen started not as a butler, but as a pantry boy. He started under Truman, and he ended up basically running the whole show under Reagan, and when he left office, he and Nancy had a great big heart-to-heart and a hug. The one thing that was true was he was actually invited as a guest to the state dinner with his wife, the Oprah Winfrey character, and did go. And, it was a wonderful event, but what had happened in the movie is that somehow or other this seems to be just a feint, and that the real great social grievances remain, and he becomes actually disillusioned by it after the fact. And I can't believe that anybody who's a butler and is invited to a state dinner would have that kind of level of latent resentment under these sorts. So, I mean, it has a kind of a slightly morose tone associated with it, which may be great drama, but I can assure you, great drama though it may be, it's not, I think, an accurate reflection of the distance to which we've come. And, this is right on the agenda again today. We had the March on Washington, Part 2, 50 years later on Sunday, and we're going to hear the President and some other bigwigs on Wednesday.
And not to interrupt, but I'm up against the clock, and I know that's going to be your next column.
Yeah.
And if you would allow us, I'd love to have you back on to talk about that later in the week or next week. So thank you for stopping by. Just a brilliant analysis, and I learned a lot not having seen the movie, and now I might want to go see it and look for what you talked about. That's Richard Epstein, ladies and gentlemen. Check him out at the Hoover Institute, where he is a senior fellow. When we come back, Lieutenant Colonel Rick Francona, retired U.S. Air Force, will be here to talk about Syria, a topic of which he is well versed. Are we going to bomb Syria now for absolutely no reason when we don't even, 9% of Americans want us to get involved in Syria? We're coming back. It's the Steve Malzberg Show on Newsmax TV.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
Bad credit card debt happens to good people. Credit card companies lure you in with low introductory rates or low minimum payments, and before you know it, you owe thousands of dollars in credit card debt. It has happened to millions of good people just like you. But here's the good news. Thanks to a powerful program now approved, anyone with $2,000 or more in credit card debt can cut their credit card payments up to half and even reduce or eliminate interest charges altogether. That's right. Our nationwide nonprofit program is helping U.S. residents cut their credit card payments. Call 800-613-3159 now. The call and information are free. We've helped over 500,000 people with their credit card debt, and now we can help you. Call 800-613-3159 to see how this powerful nonprofit program can work for you. Bad credit card debt happens to good people. Get free of credit card debt today. Call 800-613-3159. That's 800-613-3159. Again, 800-613-3159.
If you need to lose weight and would like to get paid for it, that's right, I said get paid to lose weight. Just listen to the following announcement. The makers of GCE Green Coffee Bean Weight Loss are looking for real testimonials from real people and will pay you per pound to meet or exceed your weight loss goal. Until now, the secrets of green coffee's fat-burning power has been limited, but thanks to Dr. Oz, the secret is out. And now, this authentic green coffee bean fat burner is available in easy-to-take tablets. There are no expensive meals to buy or strenuous workouts. Simply take one tablet before each meal and record your progress. Only the first 200 callers are guaranteed to be accepted into the program. So if you're serious about losing extra weight and want to earn extra cash for fitting into your skinny jeans again, call 800-383-9230 now. Call 800-383-9230. 800-383-9230. Space is limited, so hurry and secure your spot today. 800-383-9230. Some conditions apply. 800-383-9230. 800-383-9230.
Hi, I'm Joan London, and if you're worried about your parent or a loved one living alone like I was, and you want reliable senior care information, then call A Place for Mom, the nation's largest senior living referral service. You'll get free information on assisted living, Alzheimer's care, nursing homes, even important financial information.
They had obviously researched every place, not just given me names.
Really?
They found me a place for what she could afford, and it was magnificent.
We're now very confident that she's safe, and they just helped every step of the way, and I can't thank them enough.
So if you're struggling to find reliable senior living information, call A Place for Mom. This is a free service, and you can trust them to help you.
If you're struggling to find reliable senior living information for your mom or dad, then call or go online to get the free help you need during this turbulent time. Call now, 800-908-1254, 800-908-1254.
Attention seniors and baby boomers. A new website has been created just for you, SocialSecurityFree.com. At SocialSecurityFree.com, we reveal a weird trick that could help you add $152,000 to your Social Security payouts. For example, did you know how you file for Social Security can dramatically change the amount of money you collect? One simple step could add up to $1,000 to your monthly payouts. And other loopholes we found reveal 33 ways for big savings on your health care. At SocialSecurityFree.com, you will also discover how you could save up to 50% on your groceries, along with 49 other ways to save as much as $50,000 starting today. Newsmax says SocialSecurityFree.com is a critical resource for anyone over the age of 50. So go to SocialSecurityFree.com now to find out how you could add extra money to your Social Security checks. That's SocialSecurityFree.com.
Where can you find the Steve Malzberg Show? Everywhere. From your smartphone to satellite radio to Newsmax Live TV to Roku, we have you covered. Here is Steve Malzberg.
All right, folks, Syria. And is that going to be the next spot that the United States gets involved in? We heard moments ago from Secretary of State John Kerry telling us that it's undeniable that Syria had used chemical weapons. It was a moral outrage, et cetera, et cetera. Consultations are going on to determine how the United States will respond. Joining us now to talk about this at length is Lieutenant Colonel Rick Francona, retired U.S. Air Force intelligence officer, former attaché to the U.S. Embassy in Damascus and Middle East specialist. Good to talk to you again, sir. It's been a while.
It has been, Steve.
Well, we got to make it a more frequent occurrence. Okay. Let me get your take on all this. I see the latest, there's a Reuters poll out that was taken last week after the chemical weapons and during that time were used, and 9%, that's 9% of Americans think we should get involved militarily. Do you think we will, and why on earth will we?
Well, given the current climate, I don't think we will. I don't think that the current administration, either the president or the Secretary of State, are interested in getting involved in any kind of military action in Syria, unless there's some sort of coalition they bolt together like they did in Libya. But I don't see any real initiative coming from the United States. Now, the fact that the Syrian armed forces used these chemical weapons is kind of telling, because it shows me that the Assad regime is desperate. There's no reason to use chemicals when they have overwhelming conventional firepower. The resort to chemicals tells me that he's very concerned that he may lose that battle on the outskirts of Damascus. And that's where this is taking place, just to the south and east of the city. And this is where the conclusive battle is going to occur. You can fight in Aleppo, you can fight in Deir ez-Zor, you can fight down south. What really matters is who controls Damascus. And the rebels know this, and they're making a push for it. And this use of chemicals tells me that they are gaining some traction there. Now, what is the world going to do about it?
Let me stop you for a second, if I might. How do we know that Assad used it? I mean, the day that it happened, I had John Bolton on, and he said, while he puts nothing past Assad, he said the timing just wouldn't make sense. The UN inspectors had just been let in that day, granted, to a different part. He believed that, like you said, he had ample superiority when it came to traditional, conventional weapons. And he had Russia on his side at the UN. He didn't need to do this. And if he were to do it, why would he do it the first day the inspectors are there? Yeah. Wouldn't al-Qaeda and whoever the heck the rebels are have more of a motivation to stage it and make it look like it was Assad?
Yes, they would. The question is, or the problem I have with that is, they don't have access to this kind of technology. Producing nerve gas, although they say it's easy, is not. You have to have a laboratory. You have to have the precursor chemicals. You have to know how to do it, and you have to know how to put it into weapons. I think that is beyond anything we're seeing from the rebels right now. They are developing some of their own weapon systems, but nothing that you need to make an effective dispersant of chemicals. That's something that the Syrian military has.
And nothing could have been stolen and gotten into the hands of the rebels.
Well, I don't think so, because the chemical weapons depots are pretty well protected. Those are the last bastion of the weapons, the doomsday weapons for the Syrian government. Those are well protected. It would be very difficult. And if the rebels had taken one of those warehouses, we'd know it, because the rebels are very good about telling us what they're doing. I spend hours a day going through all of the YouTube footage put out by both sides. And whenever either side does something, they're right there with the camera showing us. Every time they take a weapons depot, they lay it all out there, and we know what they have. I don't think they could steal enough, and even if they did, I don't know how they would deliver it. If they were used, and there's still so many unknowns about the chemicals there. I just can't see that it would be the rebels.
All right, so now let's move on to what the world will do about it. What should we do about it, do you think?
Well, what should we do? What could we do? We could shut down, the Syrian control of the skies. And that right now is probably the biggest thing that the rebels face. If you follow their reporting, their biggest fear is what's coming from the sky. They have no adequate air defenses. Every once in a while, they'll hit an airplane. They've taken a real toll on the helicopters. But the Syrians just fly high, they fly fast, and they drop a lot of munitions every day on these rebel strongholds. There's not much they can do about it. We could declare a no-fly zone without having to put American aircraft in the sky. You could shut down the command and control. You could crater the runways. We could do that from offshore. The question is, will we? Like I said before, I don't see any initiative on the part of this government to do it.
Now, if that were to happen, we've had Assad interviewed in an interview that ran on Russian television saying that U.S. forces would fail. If he had his back against the wall, if this were about to happen, or this happened and cruise missiles were launched, or any of the scenarios you put forth as what is possible to do, might he then get more desperate and pull out the chemical weapons on even a larger scale?
Yeah, absolutely. But then he's got to have somebody to launch him on. And right now, I think that's going to be limited to his own people. I don't think Bashar al-Assad, even on the craziest of days, would contemplate putting a chemical weapon into Israel. I mean, that is the doomsday scenario because, the Israelis will fry what's left of Syria. So I don't see him doing that. He'll be looking, if we declare a no-fly zone or we take some sort of action, I think it may push him to look for a way out, which would be a good thing. Make a deal with the Russians, political asylum somewhere, just get him out of there.
And then,
Steve, the problem is not that. The problem is then what happens.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. We're talking to Lieutenant Colonel Rick Francona, retired U.S. Air Force intelligence officer, former air attaché to the U.S. Embassy in Damascus, here on the Steve Malzberg Show. Here we go again. I mean, call it an accident or call it a pattern purposely, perpetrated. We got Gaddafi out and, the quote-unquote rebels who are no friends of the United States in. You got the same thing happened, of course, in Egypt with the Brotherhood. And now you got going on in Syria. If Assad goes, who the heck takes over?
Well, what we're going to see, Steve, is and let's assume, for the sake of argument, that the Assad government falls. No matter how it happens, he goes, the rebels take over, and whatever, he leaves, something happens. Then we've set up now the second battle of Damascus, because now you're going to have the secular forces, what would used to be the Free Syrian Army, and the Islamists, the Jabhat al-Nusra. This is an al-Qaeda affiliate. And you've got all these Islamic groups forming down there. And as I watch all this reporting, you see more and more Islamic chants, more and more of the black flag of Islam, of almost of al-Qaeda. And so we're setting up the second battle of Syria, and that's going to be who controls the country. So the removing Assad is just phase one. And then we have to figure out who runs the country. But I mean, look what's happening in Egypt.
I know, but as we help the quote-unquote rebels, if we help the rebels militarily or otherwise, we're already helping them to some extent, aren't we helping al-Qaeda?
In essence, we are setting up the first stage of this, not knowing how we're going to control the second stage. This is letting the genie out of the bottle.
Right.
You're opening up Pandora's box. Yes, we can help these guys get rid of Assad, and we are to some extent, but the real help is not coming from the United States. It's the Gulf Arabs that are providing all the anti-tank missiles, the surface-to-air, the shoulder-fired missiles that are having some effect. But we're only providing small arms and all that. So we say we're helping. It's lip service.
But who's helping with these heavy weapons? Because certainly Saudi Arabia. I mean, I wouldn't imagine Saudi Arabia wants the Islamists in power in Syria.
Well, no, not really. But they want Assad out. Because Assad's biggest ally and supporter is Iran.
Yeah.
Saudi Arabia, of course, Iran is their big ally. I mean, their big rival for power in the Persian Gulf. And they would like to see a check put on Iranian power.
So we're doing Iran a favor, too, if we do lob cruise missiles in there against Assad.
No. We would be hurting Iran.
Oh, that's right. What am I saying? Right. They want Assad to stay. That's right. Absolutely. Yeah. Right.
That's not a bad thing.
Right. All right, look, I just hope, God forbid, we don't set up another situation where eventually it's, we're just creating an Islamist-run Middle East. And to me, it's no accident. To me, it's wherever Obama still is going to bat for the Muslim Brotherhood. They got to be included. You got to have them in there. Blah blah blah. I mean, he still wants them in there. In Egypt.
I'm afraid I have no good news for you, Steve.
I know. All right, Rick, always a great pleasure to talk to you, sir. Thank you. Okay. That, of course, Lieutenant Colonel Rick Francona, retired U.S. Air Force, here on the Steve Malzberg Show. No, there is no good news. There's no good news. We had people in place who were evil, dictatorial people who were working in the best interests of the United States for the most part. Assad is an exception to that rule, and certainly Gaddafi was a crazy guy, but he was no threat to us. Mubarak was no threat to us. Mubarak was doing everything we wanted him to do. But Libya, we had a national interest. Gaddafi must go. Egypt, we had a national interest. Mubarak must go. Here we have a national interest, apparently. Assad must go. And who comes into power? Our enemies, our real enemies. The ones who bombed us, the ones who want to bomb us, the ones who want to destroy Israel. How does that make any sense? I ask you. All right. One other thing, you can weigh in on this, and one other thing that doesn't make any sense is what I heard Charles Rangel, congressman from New York, say on Friday of last week. You're going to want to hear this. And if you got a son or a daughter who's been to college, if you've been to college, if you have a student loan outstanding, or you're about to have one, or if you're just a citizen who has nothing to do with college at this point or never did, you're still going to want to hear this, and we'll talk about that as well. But Siri is open for discussion. 855-777-9660, 855-777-9660, right here on the Steve Malzberg Show on Newsmax TV.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
Meet Jim. Like many of us, Jim enjoys a busy life. Between work, family, and friends, his days zip along. And Jim has the energy to tackle almost anything. But lately, Jim's get up and go has literally taken on a new meaning. Jim's always put focus on a full night's sleep, but it seems like these days, he's up and down to go to the bathroom so many times he can barely wake up in the morning. His prostate concerns have him sad, tired, and worried. Activities that were once enjoyable now seem like a chore for Jim. His golf game is at the mercy of his bathroom schedule. Family outings are planned around it too. Jim even has difficulty going to the bathroom. He's tried so many prostate remedies he can't keep them straight, and nothing ever seems to help. Then Jim found out about Prostate Revive, the all-natural dietary supplement specifically formulated for men, targeted towards improving and sustaining normal prostate function. Prostate Revive includes 15 super ingredients never combined before, including saw palmetto extract, beta-cytosterol, pomegranate fruit extract, selenium, and other high-quality nutrients. These targeted and all-natural ingredients promote healthy urinary flow and optimal prostate health. And the best part is, Prostate Revive was developed by a renowned medical doctor. Dr. David Brownstein personally formulated Prostate Revive with one goal in mind, to promote a healthy prostate gland. Thanks to Prostate Revive, Jim's got his life back. He gets a full night's sleep every night, and his friends and his wife can't believe he's the same guy. He has his old energy back, and no one has to wait for him. He doesn't even think about his prostate concerns anymore. Visit MedicSelect.com to take back your nights and improve your quality of life with Prostate Revive.
Attention, if you've been classified as a high-risk driver due to DUI, DWI, or tickets for aggressive driving and are required to get expensive and hard-to-find SR22 auto insurance, then you must listen to this message because we can help. We're the largest insurance company in the U.S. specializing in SR22 auto insurance and focused on serving the needs of customers classified by the state as high-risk drivers. We help people get back on their feet by providing easy-to-get, low-cost SR22 insurance that anyone can afford. If you need SR22 auto insurance, or if you have it now and are paying too much, you need to call us today for your free quote at 800-836-4606. Our specialists are standing by waiting for your call. We understand people make mistakes, and we're here to help by making SR22 insurance easy to get and affordable for everyone. The call and quote are free. Call us now at 800-836-4606. That's 800-836-4606. Again, 800-836-4606.
Heart disease is the biggest killer disease in America, and this doesn't surprise me. We are addicted to starches, sugars, fatty meats, and salt. People who live in countries with little heart disease eat very differently. One way some people stay heart healthy is by following what is known as the caveman or Stonehenge diet, so named because of its similarity to the way our prehistoric ancestors ate. People who follow this type of diet live off local fruits and root vegetables and get their protein mostly from fish and wild game they shoot themselves. Now, since most of us don't hunt or fish for all our protein, here are some simple tips on how you can start to eat like a caveman, modern day style. First, fill up on fruits and vegetables. Eat them first and you'll be less hungry. Feast on fish, which is rich in nutrients but not in calories. Choose fatty fish like mackerel herring, sardines, and salmon, which are rich in heart-healthy omega-3 fatty acids. Get out and go for a walk. Remember, our ancestors were hunters and gatherers, so they didn't spend their time sitting in front of a TV or computer all day. If you live more like a caveman or a cave woman, your heart will love you for it. I'm Dr. Chauncey Crandall, and thank you for watching this Heart Health Minute. Remember, it's never too late to prevent or reverse heart disease. Right now, I invite you to discover your own risk for heart disease or even a heart attack by taking my quick, free online quiz at www.simplehearttest.com.
The Steve Malzberg Show is just a bit different from the other radio shows. We have TV cameras. Watch the show at Newsmax.com or listen on your favorite radio station. Here's Steve Malzberg.
All right, folks. So I'm home last Friday, and I couldn't help but overhear Charlie Rangel, congressman from New York, over here. Welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show. And Charlie Rangel talking about the president's speech the day before on college education and student loans and redefining the way schools are graded and recommended and the whole thing. You know, Obama's got to take over everything. And then he comes out with this, cut 5.
There is no reason why a young person should have to pay for college education, because who does it benefit except the nation? Who are we competing against? Not ourselves, but China and other industrialized countries. They decide what they need, and they provide the incentives. Right. Here we don't have nurses and doctors, and then when a person gets out of out of medical school, they can't get the money to pay off their debt. It doesn't make sense.
All right. I don't know where to begin with this, so let me begin at the end. Doctors have become doctors forever, and they do it by either being, from a wealthy family and paying their college tuition and medical school bills, or they take out a loan. Okay? Until recently, doctors did pretty well in this country. I don't know too many doctors who are, on food stamps. Okay? So I don't even know what he means when he says, yeah, we need doctors and nurses, so someone goes to medical school and they come out and they can't even pay off their bills. Well, they have loans and they pay them back slowly. Like I'm paying back my mortgage and people pay back their car loans. And, that's how it's done. I don't know what he's getting at with that. So if you're going to become a doctor, you shouldn't have to pay for your education all of a sudden? And and here's the next thing. You know what kids shouldn't have to pay for a college education means, don't you? It means you and I will pay for that college education, because I don't see colleges going nonprofit anytime soon. So when Charlie Rangel and whoever else is falling off the cliff on the left says, why should students have to pay for college education? It should be free. It's not free. You might dictate that they won't pay for it. So who's going to pay for it? The rest of the country. They'll put a tax on you, or somehow we'll all pay for it. We'll pay for every kid's college education. Okay, that's number 2. The first thing he said was, or the second thing after he said, why should any kid in America pay for a college education, was who are we competing against? We're not competing against each other. We're competing against China. Now, this global mentality, this mentality that takes away from individualism in this country and competitiveness with fellow Americans, and striving for the American dream and striving to be the best you can. So you better yourself, and you better your situation, and you better your country, not because you're competing with China. I mean, when I went to college, it turned out I really didn't, well, no, I shouldn't say that. The things I did at the radio station at college led me to my career. I didn't need the degree, which I stuck out and eventually got the degree anyway, because I figured I was there, I went so far, I might as well just get it. But I didn't graduate high school and apply for college saying, I'm going to college to make sure my country does better than China or rising industrial nations or competitive nations that are competing with the United States of America. I went to college, selfish son of a you-know-what that I am or was, because I wanted to do the best that I could do for myself. I wanted to have a great job, a great career, and I wanted to get filthy, stinking rich. I didn't care about China or Pakistan or whatever, whoever at the time. It was a different playing field back then, a different global outlook back then. But I didn't go to college because I wanted America to be number one in the world. I loved my country. I loved it very much. But I didn't go to college for America. I went to college for me. So this false notion that, what do you mean who benefits when kids go to college? We do because China. What is that? What does that even mean? Kids go to college, people go to college to get a better education, to get a better job. I think they still do that because they want to make as much money as they can and live the American dream and do as well as they can for their families. And have a big house and a beautiful car or two. Live in a great neighborhood that Eric Holder will come in and declare as racist and put up a low-income housing next door eventually. Isn't that why you go to college? You mean you go to college, or Charlie Rangel thinks kids go to college so that we could do better than China? What? So, I mean, I understand what he's saying as far as the competition between nations, but that's not why kids go to China. He specifically said they don't go to compete with each other here in the United States. Sure they do. Used to anyway. Now, one more notion here. This phony notion that everyone is entitled to a college education. I mean, I don't know, maybe the Obama court, if he appoints two more justices, God forbid, will one day find, yes, just like they found Roe v. Wade, there was a constitutional right to abort your children. There's a constitutional right to a college education. I don't know where it's written. I never saw it. Not everybody belongs in college, folks. You have kids, you have grandkids, you know yourself, you know people around you. Not everyone went to college, and they did fine. Not everyone belongs in college. Here in the city of New York, a lot of the city universities have courses for entering freshmen. You know what they are? They teach you to read and do math. They are remedial courses in reading and mathematics. I wish that was a joke. I wish I were making it up. If you can't read up to grade level and well above, and you can't do math up to grade level, you don't belong in college. What are you doing in college? They have watered down the value of college and a college education by pushing kids into it who don't belong there, letting kids in who don't belong there. And now Charlie Rangel wants it to be all free because we're competing with China. That whole thing bothered me all week. Thank you for being my ears and letting that all come off my chest. I really appreciate it, folks. More than you will ever know. Just crazy. 855-777-9660. You want to weigh in on it? 855-777-9660. We'll continue after the break on the Steve Malzberg Show on Newsmax TV.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
You've heard the allegations on the news, and during the big game, pro football players have been using deer antler velvet to get a competitive edge. Banned at the London Games for its performance-enhancing qualities. Forbidden in major sports leagues for being an unfair advantage to athletes. Deer antler velvet is now in stock and available to try for free for a limited time only. Athletes have been using it for years for increased strength, increased endurance, muscle mass stress reduction, and yes, greatly enhanced libido. Everyone's talking about this miracle substance so powerful, it's being banned by professionals professional sports organizations. But for a limited time, it's being made available to the general public. Best of all, you can try it for free by calling 800-678-5153. That's right, get Superior Velvet for free. If you're looking to boost your performance on the field and between the sheets, get the most powerful, proven product used by athletes for years now for free. Claim your free bottle today by calling 800-678-5153. That's 800-678-5153. Again, 800-678-5153.
If you're a baby boomer or senior, please listen closely to this important message. Politicians in Washington are quietly plotting to decrease your Social Security payments drastically, and they want to do it soon. In fact, despite rising prices at the gas pump, grocery store, and doctor's office, retirees have received a mere 1.3% annual increase to their Social Security checks. Meanwhile, food stamp recipients have seen their payouts increase over 30% under the Obama administration. That's shocking. So when we stumbled upon a weird trick that could add up to $1,000 to your monthly Social Security checks, we knew we had to share it with you. To get started, simply go to SocialSecurityFree.com. Yes, it's true. You can take simple steps that could add up to $1,000 to your monthly Social Security payouts. Newsmax says SocialSecurityFree.com is a critical resource for anyone over 50. Go to SocialSecurityFree.com.
Hello and welcome to your Newsmax Now update. I'm Kathleen Walter. Syria has finally relented and allowed UN inspectors to visit the site of an alleged chemical weapons attack. UN inspectors in Syria moved through Damascus this morning to investigate claims of a chemical weapons attack. Snipers fired at the lead vehicle in the convoy. More than 300 people died last week when rockets armed with what appeared to be a toxic gas struck a rebel-held area of the capital city. Here in the U.S., Senator John McCain and other lawmakers are calling for the U.S. military to intervene.
If the United States stands by and doesn't take very serious action, not just launching some cruise missiles, then again, our credibility in the world is diminished even more, if there's any left.
The White House is said to be considering various military options if it is confirmed the Syrian government authorized the attack. The wildfire near the Yosemite National Forest in California is still burning out of control. The rim fire has grown to almost 144,000 acres and is only 7% contained. More than 3,400 firefighters are battling to put in some containment lines.
These firefighters are amazing and that they'll keep us protected.
Pretty impressive. It looks like they're a really coordinated effort, and it's kind of comforting to see. Same rate, a little scary.
Knowing exactly where it's going to go with the wind is a little unpredictable.
The blaze is so large it can be seen from space, and the smoke has drifted all the way from California to Reno, Nevada. A rodeo clown whose controversial Missouri State Fair antics went viral after wearing a President Barack Obama mask is speaking out. Tuffy Gessling has apologized, but he says President Obama was treated no differently than other presidents who were mocked in past acts.
This clown bit has been around for generations. And I didn't think anything more of it than what we've done 15 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, when we've done it with Bush and Clinton and Ronald Reagan.
The Missouri State Fair today announced that it permanently banned the rodeo clown. And the first woman to become a member of the New York Stock Exchange has died. Muriel Siebert bought a seat on the male-dominated exchange in December of 1967. She founded her own brokerage firm and was the first woman superintendent of banking for the state of New York. Muriel Siebert died this weekend from cancer at a New York hospital. She was 80 years old. Here's what's next on Newsmax Now. Texas is fighting back against Eric Holder on voting rights. Texas Attorney General Greg Abbott explains. Plus, a U.S. Army sergeant today receives the Medal of Honor. His heroic acts coming up.
If you or someone you love is struggling with addiction to alcohol or drugs, then you must listen to this message because there is hope. No matter what addiction you or your loved one is coping with, you are just one phone call away from real help. Recovery Hotline makes the healing process simple and affordable by matching people to fully certified and experienced inpatient facilities that are right for their personal situations. Call 800-668-1286 now. Don't wait another day. Money does not have to be an issue. Most insurance is accepted. Just call 800-668-1286 today. Recovery Hotline's mission is to help you or someone you love begin the healing process and get back a healthy and sober life. And we can even help with family interventions and travel arrangements. One phone call is all it takes to get back the life you or your loved one deserves. The call is free. The help is real. Call 800-668-1286. That's 800-668-1286. 800-668-1286. Again, 800-668-1286.
Obamacare. President Obama's massive health care law is taking effect this year. With over 15,000 pages of regulations, few even know what it means. Now, the Obamacare Survival Guide by Nick Tate gives you the shocking facts about this law. It's a step-by-step guide on how you can protect yourself. Already the New York Times bestseller, every American needs to get the Obamacare Survival Guide and find out about the new taxes, hidden fees, fines, Medicare changes, business rules, and why doctor shortages are likely. Donald Trump says the Obamacare Survival Guide is a must-read for anyone worried about getting good health care for themselves or their employees. So get the Obamacare Survival Guide. It's at bookstores or get our special offer at Obamacare911.com and you'll save $15. Go now to Obamacare911.com. Obamacare911.com.
And welcome back. Don't mess with Texas. That's according to Texas Attorney General Greg Abbott, who says he's prepared for a fight after Attorney General Eric Holder slapped the Lone Star State with a lawsuit over voter ID laws.
Well, this is something that's very dangerously real, something that must be stopped. We're using every tool to try to stop voter fraud, and the Obama administration is trying to use every tool to prevent us from stopping voter fraud.
President Obama today awarding the Medal of Honor to Staff Sergeant Ty Carter at the White House. Carter is being honored for his actions during the Battle of Camp Dash, where more than 300 Taliban fighters attacked an army outpost. Clint Romesha was also awarded the Medal of Honor for his actions during the same battle. And to see more of our exclusive interviews and content, stay with Newsmax.com. This has been your Newsmax Now update for August 26th. I'm Kathleen Walter. Now, here's the Steve Malzberg Show in New York.
Are you ready?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studios, this is the Steve Malzberg Show. Be a part of the action by calling 855-777-9660. That's 855-777-9660. Or email Steve at malzbergshow@newsmax.com. Here is Steve Malzberg.
All right, folks, hour number 3 of the Steve Malzberg Show. And I don't know how many of you are football fans, probably quite a bit. And if you're a football fan, you know what's going on a lot of the teams, and especially if you're our brand new affiliate in the great state of New Jersey, WCTC, 1450 AM on the dial. You're well aware of the fact that the Jets beat the Giants in preseason football on Saturday night in overtime. Only there were a few problems for the Jets in that victory. Geno Smith, the rookie quarterback, threw 3 interceptions for the Jets. He started the game. The Jets actually brought in Mark Sanchez, who many feel should be the opening day quarterback. Look, I'm no fan of Mark Sanchez. And by the way, this game, the Jets and the Giants, you know, they play every year in preseason. There's a little bit of pride associated with the game. You know, you want to win, but it doesn't count for anything. It doesn't mean anything. You know, the Giants keep going to the Super Bowl. The Jets don't. So if Rex Ryan and the Jets, you know, gain some kind of pride out of this, or some kind of solace out of this, or it makes them feel better about themselves because they beat the Giants in preseason, well, gee, good for them. But what Rex Ryan did and this isn't hardcore sports, this is easy to follow. Rex Ryan, the head coach of the New York Jets, put in Mark Sanchez, who should be his starting quarterback and probably would have been the starting quarterback on opening day, which is about a week away. He put Mark Sanchez in the fourth quarter, but he didn't put him in with the first team. He put Mark Sanchez in the fourth quarter, and he did it behind second and third string offensive linemen who protect the quarterback. So as a result, Marvin Austin, who's fighting for a job as the Giants defensive end, broke through that Jets protection and tackled Mark Sanchez hard, and Mark Sanchez injured his shoulder. Now, they say he's day-to-day, blah, blah, blah. It's not good news no matter how you look at it. Not good news no matter how you look at it. So Mark Sanchez got injured because Rex Ryan decided to put him in the fourth quarter without the first string protecting him. Now he's up a creek without a paddle, if you ask me, because Sanchez should certainly be the starting quarterback. This is called the Snoopy Trophy. The Snoopy Trophy. It goes to the winner of the Jets-Giants preseason game every year. I kid you not. I kid you not. So, the quarterback, the coach of the Jets, Rex Ryan, comes into the post-game press area. They got the Snoopy trophy sitting there next to him, and he's sounding like he just won the Super Bowl. And then he gets asked a question, and then a question, and then a question about why he would put Mark Sanchez in the fourth quarter of a meaningless preseason game, even though it's against the Giants, notwithstanding that fact. And I wish you could all see this soundbite of Rex Ryan, which will be cut 25, because he talks about how he could turn around and say it this way and turn around and say it that way. He does. He actually puts his back eventually to the person who asked the question and then turns the other way as well. Only Rex Ryan could come up with this. Let's listen to what he had to say. Cut 25.
Has a chance to be the week one starter.
Hey, again, we're going to compete all the way through.
Is that a yes or a no, Rex? Does he have a chance?
Hey, I'll make that call.
I'm just asking you. Does he have a chance?
I don't have to answer a question. I answer it the way I said. And from day one, I said, we will make the announcement of a starting quarterback when we think it's the appropriate time. Not when this person or this person or this person. Now, maybe that person, but that's about it.
But you can't even say that he has a chance.
I can say anything I want. That's the beauty of this country. I can answer it 100 times. Here, I'll stand backwards and answer the question. I'm going sideways. At the appropriate time, we'll make that the announcement when I think it's the appropriate time. Yes, Brian.
All right. So he's being a clown. He's being a clown. Before his stomach surgery, he was an overweight clown. Now he looks like an underweight clown. No mask. No Obama mask. It's not a rodeo. No Nixon mask. No Reagan mask. No H.W. or G.W. Bush mask. No Clinton mask. He's just got a Ryan mask on because he's a clown. And I got to tell you, they're asking him who's going to be the starting quarterback. When are you going to name the starting quarterback? And he's arrogant. And but folks, all week you talk about winning and competing, and that was my decision. If it wasn't that important, I wouldn't have put him in there, talking about putting Sanchez in the game. Crazy stuff. I don't know what else to say. Crazy stuff. You don't do that. You really don't do that. But he did it. One other thing that's kind of bizarre that I didn't get a chance to talk about yet. Samantha Power was appointed as the U.S. ambassador to the United Nations on August 1st. Okay? She was born in Ireland. The United Nations held an emergency meeting the other day in response to the chemical weapons that were used in Syria. Samantha Power was not there. Samantha Power, who has spent her career urging international intervention in cases of genocide, she was nowhere to be seen at the UN Security Council meeting last week. She tweeted out, "Reports devastating. Hundreds dead in streets, including kids killed by chem weapons. UN must get there fast. And if true, perps must face justice." UN must get there fast. Well, little problem. Ambassador Power was in Ireland. She was accompanying her husband, apparently, who was a guest speaker at a comedy festival. Now, I don't know how this works exactly, this whole diplomatic thing. I don't know how this whole diplomatic thing works, but I will tell you this. I don't recall too many emergency meetings of the Security Council where the U.S. ambassador to the United Nations isn't there. You have to be available for this kind of stuff. Next time we have John Bolton on, I'm going to be asking John Bolton, is this customary? Do they take vacations? I mean, maybe they do. But she wasn't there, and they wouldn't say where she was. That's the part. The State Department wouldn't say where she was, and now we learn that she was accompanying her husband, who was on a holiday in Ireland where he was a speaker at a comedy film festival. Now, could she not have hightailed it back to the United States real quick on like some jet or something? Well, she wasn't going to walk. Of course it would be a jet. I just find it very interesting that Samantha Power was not at that UN Security Council meeting on Syria. Okay, we're coming back. Is the media anti-Clinton? Is the media picking on poor Hillary and Bill? Once again, as you know, it becomes more and more apparent that Hillary might run for president. The New York Times piece on the Clinton Foundation being poorly run and in financial trouble and having all kinds of patronage jobs. Is that a hit piece to get at the Clintons? Or is it just some good journalism, dare I say, by the New York Times? Lanny Davis, former chief counsel to the President of the United States, Bill Clinton, joins us right here on the Steve Malzberg Show on Newsmax TV.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
Attention hip implant patients. Are you in constant pain? Have you received a letter from your doctor about your implant? Have you had or need a revision surgery? Do you have high levels of metal, chromium, or cobalt in your blood? Over 90,000 hip implant devices have been recalled due to defects and failures resulting in revision or replacement surgery. If you have a recalled hip implant, you may be entitled to substantial financial compensation. Call 800-460-1530 to see if your implant is affected by the recalls. If you or a loved one has a defective or recalled hip implant, you may be entitled to substantial financial compensation. Call 800-460-1530. That's 800-460-1530. Protect your legal rights today. Call 800-460-1530. This is an advertisement, not valid in all states. Paid non-attorney spokesperson. iLawsuit.com is an advertising group that represents lawyers advertising their services and is a free matching service for consumers. It is not a law firm or lawyer referral service. Are payday loans ruining your life? If you have 2 or more payday loan cash advances, listen closely. You may be eligible for a program that payday loan companies don't want you to know about.
This program will get payday loan companies out of your bank account and put an end to the payday loan nightmare. Call for free information and find out if Payday Loan Support Center is right for you. Payday loan companies usually trap you into paying rates as high as 700%. We understand payday lenders' tactics. Don't let them take advantage of you anymore. All you need is 2 or more payday loans to qualify. We can help even if you're behind in collections or have bad credit.
Internet payday loans qualify for this program as well. So call 800-250-5084. That's 800-250-5084. The call is free and the consultation is free. Don't miss out. Call for your free information on payday loan relief. 800-250-5084. That's 800-250-5084. Again, 800-250-5084.
Tired of calls, levies, and liens from the IRS or hiring others who don't get the job done? Call Wall & Associates and you'll never talk to the IRS again. The IRS has a program to eliminate tax debt, and Wall & Associates professionals are trained to maximize its benefits for you. You always speak with a live person with real support and real knowledge. We've helped thousands of taxpayers like you settle their tax debt with the IRS for a fraction of what they owe. We solve tax problems. Call Wall & Associates now. 800-574-6029. We have the professionals who know how to solve tax problems. If you owe money to the IRS, your tax problems are not going away by themselves, and the passage of time will only make matters worse. Act now before it's too late. Call Wall & Associates right now to speak to a professional tax relief agent. Call 800-574-6029. That's 800-574-6029. Again, 800-574-6029.
Hi, this is Mike Reagan. Folks ask me, what would Ronald Reagan do if he were with us today? I believe the first thing he'd do is stop Obamacare. Already it's in effect with higher taxes, hidden fees, skyrocketing insurance rates, big Medicare cuts, and some insurance plans are hit with a 40% tax. Protect yourself by getting the Obamacare Survival Guide. It's already a #1 New York Times bestseller. Newsmax says it's the best guide to the new law, giving you the strategies, tips, and loopholes you need to know. If you're insured on Medicare, a business owner, a medical professional, just about anyone, you need this book. Get the #1 bestseller, The Obamacare Survival Guide, at bookstores everywhere. Or get our special $4.95 offer and save $15 off the cover price by going now to Obamacare911.com. Obamacare911.com. That's Obamacare911.com.
Sure, Steve might be a bit of a hypochondriac, but he never gets sick of breaking news. This is the Steve Malzberg Show. Call Steve at 1-855-777-9660. That's 1-855-777-9660. Here's Steve.
All right, folks, so welcome back. Is the media, or certain members of the media and certain outlets of the media, launching an attack on the Clintons? Are they out to derail Hillary Clinton from running for president, or is this something that naturally happens when the Clintons are in power or seeking power? Joining us now to talk about a piece he wrote, The Anti-Clinton Media, Here We Go Again. It appeared at The Hill, is Lanny Davis, our friend. He served as a special counsel to Bill Clinton and, of course, is the author of Crisis Tales, 5 Rules for Coping with Crisis in Business, Politics, and Life. Hello, Lanny.
Hello, Steve. How are you?
How are you, my friend?
Good.
All right, let's talk a little bit about this. Couple of things that seem to have perturbed you about the media. One is they both involve the New York Times. One is Maureen Dowd, and another one is the Times piece that focused on the Clinton Foundation.
Yeah, and it's hard in a headline to get the distinction and all that you want to. So I did make a distinction in the text of my piece about the New York Times article on the Clinton Foundation making at least 2 specific reports of fact that turn out not to be fact and were inaccurate. But in the case of Maureen Dowd, I do see an intentional bias. So in the one case, in Maureen Dowd's case, she writes her opinions are very hostile, and subjectively she has a right to her opinion, but I just have labeled it as consistently hostile and even venomous in the personal words that she uses. That's her right as an op-ed columnist. I don't have to agree with it. The other was supposed to be objective fact journalism, and I wrote that the Times got it wrong factually about accusing the Clinton Foundation of having deficits when that was a misleading and really inaccurate statement, and also seeing a conflict of interest in individuals setting up a company that encouraged their clients who were associated with the Clintons to give to the Clinton Foundation. I saw no conflict of interest in that. I saw only alignment of interest. So those were my 2 points, that the journalism was poor and I thought careless, but I didn't accuse the journalists of being biased. I just thought they were wrong.
All right, so without me going over piece by piece of the New York Times, and you will admit that there were some accuracies, certainly to go along with what you call the inaccuracies in the Times piece. And as you said, Maureen Dowd is entitled to her opinion. But to say that when it comes to the mainstream of media, that the Clintons get anything less than overwhelmingly favorable coverage, I mean, I don't get that at all.
Well, they get good coverage and they get bad coverage depending on the day and the issue. And when you're running for president, you tend to have people piling on you. When you're Secretary of State, you tend to have everybody loving you. So there's something in between that I think is probably the right balance. But in the case of Whitewater, how many years and $50+ million later, and thousands of column inches in the New York Times and the Washington Post about the quote wrongdoing in Whitewater, Ken Starr and his successor themselves found no wrongdoing about the Whitewater investment by either Clinton.
Well, but there were people that went to jail. Webb Hubbell went to...
Well, first of all, those tens of thousands of column inches were about Bill and Hillary Clinton, and I said about either Bill or Hillary Clinton. The 15 or 17 characters, who some of them were almost so incidental and nonsensical what they were accused of, I've heard those numbers, Steve, but I was very careful in what I just said. And then you said, but, as if
No, you're right. The Clintons, they never got anything on the Clintons. So under the law, just like Trayvon Martin.
Law.
Yeah, under any law. I understand.
Under legal
right.
law.
But there was wrongdoing in that Whitewater whole affair, and it led to more wrongdoing. And eventually the president was found to have lied before a federal grand jury. He was disbarred and impeached and paid a fine. And if that investigation hadn't happened, we might not have found out about that.
You're a talk show host, but you're not entitled to make up facts. He never was found to have lied before a grand jury. Never.
Why was he disbarred?
He was disbarred because in a civil deposition, which is not a grand jury, he did not tell the truth about having sex.
He committed perjury.
First of all, nobody ever found him to have committed perjury. That's your opinion. You're entitled to your opinion. But going back to Kenneth Starr, not exactly pro-Clinton, found no wrongdoing, no legal wrongdoing, no perjury, nothing. Zero, nada, 50.
All right, let me ask you a question.
Stephen, that's a fact. You may not like
that. All right. Well, he lied on that deposition because he wound up. No, he wound up. He did have an affair with Monica Lewinsky, and he said he didn't.
Now you've got your affairs mixed up. That was not about Monica Lewinsky.
No, it was about Paula Jones, who he wound up settling with.
I think you're getting all mixed up on.
No, I'm not getting all mixed up, Lanny. I know what happened. He was impeached. He was disbarred. He paid a fine, and he lied. And one of the articles of impeachment was perjury.
And not 51 senators out of 55 Republicans agreed with you.
We're not talking about senators. He was impeached. He was impeached.
Excuse me. He was impeached on a partisan vote.
Oh.
And in the U.S. Senate, now let's at least have you say this, 55 Republican senators, not a majority, agreed with what you just said.
He wasn't convicted in the Senate, but he was impeached.
Not a majority agreed with what you just said in the United States.
No, I
Senate.
can't say that. I don't. According to their vote, they didn't. They may have agreed personally, so I don't know.
Right.
But their vote showed that they didn't. They didn't agree.
You're entitled to speculate, but you're not entitled to make.
All right. Well, let's
Going
not.
Back to my statement about Whitewater, Bill and Hillary Clinton were not like
right.
Starr,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Any wrongdoing whatsoever
okay.
Involving Whitewater.
Let me ask you a question. What would you think would have happened if a woman came forward and said 20 years ago George Bush raped me? You want to talk about media fairness and coverage? What would have happened? You think there would have been one?
There probably would have been a lot of people on the left who do what you do, which is to jump to a legal conclusion.
I didn't drink. No, I didn't drink. I'm asking if the media would have asked more than one question about it to the president. One question.
If you want to ask me a question and you want me to be on your program, in the past you've always allowed me to finish. You don't shout over and interrupt. That's what you're doing today. So you ask me a question. If George Bush were accused of rape, what would happen? I hope no one would jump to the conclusion that the accuser is correct without a verdict, without due process. Now, I do believe there are people on the left who would have done that to George Bush, and I would have disagreed with them.
Like NBC, CBS, ABC, and all those things. Would they have covered it? Would they have asked a question? Because they didn't for Bill Clinton. Only Sam Donaldson, he was the only reporter ever to ask a question, and one question only was ever asked of Bill Clinton. You think that would have been the case for Bush?
Well, you're asking me to speculate, and you just said things that are not true. That accusation was widely reported.
To the president. One question to the president.
That accusation, which I'm not even going to dignify because the person who made it never came forward, never
Sure, she came
testified
forward.
under oath.
She was
You're
interviewed
interrupting
by Lisa Myers on NBC News.
Stephen, you're interrupting me. If you want to speak, I'll wait.
Well, we're
until you're
actually out of
left.
time, Lanny, but I appreciate it. I'm just trying to. I just found it unusual that you cry for the media coverage for the Clintons
I
when.
don't appreciate when you interrupt. and
All
if
right,
you
well,
do
we're
that,
out of
I won't-
time. We're out of time, Lanny. I'm sorry. We'll continue next time on the Steve Malzberg Show on Newsmax TV.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
Newsmax Magazine is proud to present a special tribute to our 40th president, Ronald Reagan. It's a very special documentary and commemorative issue of Newsmax Magazine celebrating the centennial of President Reagan's birth. First, here's a video clip from the award-winning documentary, Rendezvous with Destiny.
We're in the midst of a springtime of hope for America.
You ain't seen nothing yet.
Impulses of an evil empire.
Tear down this wall.
I believe that together we can keep this rendezvous with destiny.
In the next several minutes, you will learn things about President Ronald Reagan that you've never seen, heard, or read before. Welcome to today's special Newsmax event celebrating the life and legacy of President Reagan. During this historic presentation, we will commemorate President Reagan's storied life. We'll revisit his 2 terms in office and recollect his proudest achievements and greatest challenges. Ronald Reagan's life reads like a fairy tale of success stories. He was an accomplished athlete, an honored veteran, a famous actor, the governor of California, and of course, our nation's 40th president.
He called himself a citizen politician and only entered politics when he warned government was gaining too much power. By then he was age 54, with a successful career behind him. Twice elected President of the United States, Ronald Wilson Reagan was a contradiction to some. Once a Democrat, then a Republican. A champion of smaller government whose own government grew. A fiscal conservative who failed to balance the budget. His critics mistook his affability for weakness, but behind the smile and the charm existed an extraordinary leader with unique skills and bold and revolutionary ideas.
We only had time to share just a few of the top defining moments in Ronald Reagan's presidency, but you'll get to see them all in Rendezvous with Destiny. By the way, the president's close relationship with the Pope is especially fascinating. You'll also learn how dealing with an alcoholic father helped shape Reagan's ability to negotiate. And if you ever wondered what the leader of the free world likes to get for the holidays, well, you'll find that out as well. So let's review today in this free offer. We are sending you a copy of Ronald Reagan, Rendezvous with Destiny, and the collector's limited edition of our issue commemorating the 100th anniversary of President Reagan's birth.
Right now, when you subscribe to Newsmax Magazine, you can own both the DVD and receive the special Reagan 100th Birthday Commemorative Edition. That's $25 in bonus gifts when you subscribe. Go to newsmax.com/Reagan13 to subscribe today. Join the millions who read Newsmax Magazine every month.
If you're a baby boomer or senior, please listen closely to this important message. Politicians in Washington are quietly plotting to decrease your Social Security payments drastically, and they want to do it soon. In fact, despite rising prices at the gas pump, grocery store, and doctor's office, retirees have received a mere 1.3% annual increase to their Social Security checks. Meanwhile, food stamp recipients have seen their payouts increase over 30% under the Obama administration. That's shocking. So when we stumbled upon a weird trick that could add up to $1,000 to your monthly Social Security checks, we knew we had to share it with you. To get started, simply go to SocialSecurityFree.com. Yes, it's true. You can take simple steps that could add up to $1,000 to your monthly Social Security payouts. Newsmax says SocialSecurityFree.com is a critical resource for anyone over 50. Go to SocialSecurityFree.com.
This is not your typical Screamfest talk show. No. This is the next generation of talk radio. Here is Steve Malzberg.
All right, folks, welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show. Look, Lanny Davis and I go way back. I was not disrespectful in any way to Lanny Davis. Sometimes in the course of a debate on an issue, you talk over each other and you make points while other people are talking. You know, and sometimes that's just the way it is. And I'm sorry if that offended Lanny in any way. Hopefully it didn't, and hopefully he'll be back. But you could say that. My question was, and he knows the question, and he's smart, and he's a lawyer, and he's giving lawyer answers, which is fine. That's fine. And I'm giving talk show host responses, which is why I talked over him a little bit. Because when I asked the question, would there be more than one question? In other words, at press conferences, during interviews, one question, and it was from Sam Donaldson about Juanita Broderick's accusation. And he didn't even answer it. He gave some bizarre answer that went on for about a minute and a half that did not say anything about the question, really. And that was it. Believe me. I monitored every network and every TV channel and every back then when I was doing my show on WABC, and I played that Donaldson question and answer over and over and over. So I ask you, the public, and as we head to our next guest, do you believe if the accusation had been made to George W. Bush, that the media would have tried to ask George W. Bush or his press secretary one question about it? One question and one question only, and then it would go away. Come on, give me a break. Remember when there was the accusation he did drugs as a college student, and there was no accreditation to the quote in a book when he was running for president? That's all they talked about, the media. So please. Okay. Anyway, let's move on. I want our next guest, Dr. Alveda King, and everyone else to hear Cut 15. Let's play Cut 15.
Mark and I were having this discussion, and he is more eloquent on it than I am. But we've gone from Martin Luther King to the Reverend Al Sharpton. And as a leader, as he's trying to be this weekend, it's very dispiriting.
That's Margaret Coulson, who is no conservative. And she summed it up best I can sum it up. Let's welcome in Dr. Alveda King, Pastoral Associate and Director of African American Outreach for Priests for Life. Just a wonderful person who I'm privileged to know, also Newsmax contributor. Hey, Doctor, how are you?
Absolutely great, and it's wonderful, Steve, to join you and your listeners today. I can understand the distress of a parent or a person who has to deal with young Americans or any Americans. So, yes, I can understand that concern.
Yes, well, what she was talking about, that was Margaret Coulson talking about the fact that, we've gone from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., your uncle, to Al Sharpton at the same spot almost 50 years later, and it was his march. It was he called everybody together, and she said it's distressing. And I got to agree, because I don't think your uncle would think, in my opinion, I don't think he'd think too highly of some of the things Al Sharpton has done and said over the years.
Well, actually, I did not attend the march. My cousin Martin spoke at the march, and my cousin Bernie prayed at the conclusion.
Right.
And I watched it on television. I'm going to be with Bernice on Wednesday at an interfaith service at Shiloh Baptist Church in D.C., and then later on the mall at the Lincoln Memorial on the actual anniversary date, ringing a bell. But Reverend Sharpton, some of the things that he's promoting and saying, of course, have gone far beyond what my uncle intended and what they were all marching for. 50 years ago, my mom and dad were there as well. They were marching for freedom, for justice, for jobs, for decent housing and better education. Those are basic needs that all human beings deserve according to just our simple humanity. And we were not asking for separate but equal, but equality on those levels. Now, all these years later, all these causes have been added, and causes divide people rather than uniting people. And so, as you say, the lady who expressed that concern was not even a conservative, but she was still distressed. So I must say that Reverend Al Sharpton is a far cry from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
Well, I think you said it very, very eloquently, very politely, and very appropriately, as I would expect from you, Dr. King. Let me ask you. You did an interview with Newsmax a couple of days ago, or maybe yesterday, and you said something very interesting that as you watched from afar, part of your uncle's dream did come true, and that part was watching the aforementioned Martin Luther King III and Bernice King be judged, as you put it, on the content of their character and not on the color of their skin, which is what your uncle wanted for everybody.
Absolutely, and I know my cousin Martin talks about, there's a book, I think the name of it is My Daddy, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. too. He and his little daughter and his wife had something on yesterday after the march on Saturday. But Martin's remarks, I could understand them. If I could say anything to my cousin Martin, though, it's this: we've had 50 years of trying to achieve those exact same things that he was talking about. But if we don't return to God, and that's what his sister did at the end of the march, she called out to God. And that's what my Uncle ML, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., my daddy, A.D., Daddy King, they prayed. They called out to God, and they said, we're imperfect. We can't do this. We're going to mess up. We're going to sin. We need you, God. Please help us. And they wanted to be treated as one human race, one blood, not separate races, because my uncle said we must learn to live together as brothers, and I add as sisters, or perish as fools. So the human condition needs help. Martin Luther King Jr. knew that. My daddy, A.D., knew that. I did not hear that theme from Al Sharpton. So I wanted to remind my cousin Martin, I don't have to remind Bernice because she's walking in those same steps of prayer. But we're not going to resolve anything without prayer. We're not. Absolutely, and I want to get to that in a second also, and I want to get to a terrible misconception about your uncle, which you and I have talked about very often. But first, let me address Martin Luther King III. Rather than play the soundbite, if you haven't heard it, I'm sure you did. I'll play it for you. But he did something that, to me, and I'm not you, and I'm not black either, but to me seemed very, I don't know, inappropriate or out of place or very provocative. He brought. Okay, let's play cut number 11. Can we get cut number 11 in there? Okay, here we go.
So I stand here today in this sacred place, in my father's footsteps. I am humbled by the heavy hand of history, but more than that, I, like you, continue to feel his presence. I, like you, continue to hear his voice crying out in the wilderness. The admonition is clear. This is not the time for nostalgic commemoration, nor is this the time for self-congratulatory celebration. The task is not done. Their journey is not complete. We can and we must do more.
All right, that was good, but this is the cut. I should have followed my own instincts. Here's cut 12. Listen to this one.
The vision preached by my father a half-century ago was that his 4 little children would one day live in a nation where they would not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. However, sadly, the tears of Trayvon Martin's mother and father remind us that far too frequently the color of one's skin remains a license to profile, to arrest, and to even murder with no regard for the content of one's character. Regressive stand-your-ground laws must be repealed. Federal anti-profiling legislation must be enacted.
All right, let's talk about Trayvon for a second here. Do you think it was appropriate to use Trayvon Martin as an example of the skin color resulting in murder? I mean, I just don't see that. There was this was not a racial case, and even if you think it might have been, was this the appropriate time and place in this kind of speech to bring up Trayvon Martin? Do you think?
Let me mention this because I noticed his sister a little later. You might remember that Trayvon Martin's mother spoke, and then Bernice King, standing with her and before her, began to pray for mercy and compassion. So the correct context, if Trayvon was to have been mentioned at all, would have been to say that it's tragic in America that our children are being slaughtered, killed, murdered, aborted, and with skin color issues, racial profiling still occurs in America, and there was a big debate as to whether or not there was profiling with Trayvon. I actually, believe it or not, thought there was some of that. But then just last week, I think it was 3 ethnically African-American young men killed a Caucasian man for fun because they were bored. And so that same kind of pattern with our young people not respecting the sanctity of life. And so we're going to see all of these disasters, as I call them. And so I believe that rather than take Trayvon and just play a race card and inflame emotions, we've got to look at that deeper issue where in Chicago, black young boys and girls are killing each other, especially the black African-American men. Young men are killing other African-American young men. So it's not simply a racial issue. And so I don't like to see the race card played ever at all, and certainly at a time when people's emotions are tender. It's not nostalgia that we are celebrating. We are admitting, many of us, I am certainly, that all the problems have not been solved. But my answer is we still have to go back to God. Right. And so in answering that, if I were my cousin Martin, I would not have approached that or taken that time to take the very sensitive issue of Trayvon Martin, the pain of the Zimmermans and the Martins, and to try to use it at that point. I would not have made that.
Okay, and I appreciate that answer. Now let's talk about one misconception here before I ask you what you might expect from President Obama on Wednesday. Your uncle would not be a pro-abortion movement leader, would he?
My uncle, in his own words, and that's what I wanted to remind Reverend Sharpton and some of those who were marching, Martin Luther King Jr., during his lifetime in the 1950s, wrote an advice column for Ebony magazine, and there was a young man. I'm going to answer 2 questions with one response on that. There was a young man who said, Dr. King, I was involved in committing a crime. My girlfriend got pregnant, and I would not marry her, and a crime was committed. Well, abortion, of course, at that time was illegal. The young man's, the mother of his baby, their baby, aborted the baby. And Martin Luther King Jr. basically says, well, now that you admit that there was a problem and you're repenting, then we can go on. He also said to another young man who said, Dear Dr. King, I feel about boys the way other boys feel about girls. What am I going to do with this problem? Martin Luther King Jr. wrote this. Now that you realize you have a problem, we can look into solutions. And so even though the Bible says over in the book of Matthew, some people are born eunuchs, some are made eunuchs, and some choose to be eunuchs, so we understand that some people actually can be born without a sexual desire for the opposite sex. But the answer then is not to enter into behavior that's going to interrupt the procreative pattern for the natural family. So those are things that are not being properly taught. But Martin Luther King Jr. during his lifetime respected and regarded natural marriage. He performed ceremonies and spoke of procreation in those ceremonies. So people need to look back in history if they want to attach certain tactics and what I call antics to Martin Luther King Jr., they need to go back and see what he said himself about those position.
Absolutely, and you've expressed that so eloquently to me in the past. I did want to bring it up today. And one final question: I'm sure you'll try at least to be listening on Wednesday to the president. Well, you will be listening to the president. What?
I'll be there.
Right, you'll be there. That's what I meant. Yeah, you told me earlier. So what do you expect to hear from him?
I'm not sure, but I would be very disappointed if the president would think it would be appropriate to get there and attempt to stand in the same place that Martin Luther King Jr. stood 50 years ago and try to emulate that and stir up those same emotions with those same words. I pray that he really doesn't do that. You'll remember Glenn Beck and I in 2010 went to the Lincoln Memorial on August 28th, but we stood several steps down because I remember saying to Glenn, I'm not Martin Luther King Jr. It doesn't look like you are either. And we chuckled. So we kind of just knew that that would not be what needed to happen. I did say I, too, have a dream, but I gave my 2010 dream.
So should the president not stand in the same spot? Should the venue, in fact, be different?
No, I'm saying it's okay if he stands in the same spot, but I just want him to emulate.
Right, I got you.
Like he's a new Martin Luther King, because he actually is not.
Okay.
So I don't know what he will say, but maybe he'll hear that little suggestion. We'll just have to see.
All right, listen, you know how I feel about you, and you know how honored I feel to know you and how privileged I feel to talk to you whenever we talk. And I look forward to our next conversation, Dr. King. Maybe we'll speak in the aftermath of the speech. Thank you very much.
I hope so. Thank you for the suggestion. Thanks for the opportunity. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Bye-bye.
Dr. Alveda King, ladies and gentlemen, Pastoral Associate and Director of African American Outreach for Priests for Life and Gospel of Life Ministries, author, Newsmax contributor, and the niece of the late Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Very interesting. Al Sharpton is a far cry from Martin Luther King Jr., and she doesn't want the president to emulate and stir up the same emotions or try to that her uncle spoke about and did. And she would not have mentioned Trayvon Martin the way her cousin, if I'm getting it correctly, Martin Luther King III, did on Saturday. So those were all very interesting observations and remarks made by her, certainly headline grabbers. And if you want to weigh in on that in the short time we have left on the other side of the break on the Monday edition of the Steve Malzberg Show, please do. By the way, tomorrow Steve Lonigan, who's running for Senate in New Jersey, joins us in the first hour. But here's the number, of course, 855-777-9660, 855-777-9660 on the Steve Malzberg Show on Newsmax TV.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
In 2013, half of your friends, family, and neighbors may lose their jobs, and you may be forced to watch helplessly as you are robbed of 90% of your life savings, all while your home's value is eradicated. Controversial economist Robert Wiedemer believes we will soon stare down a secret crisis that will rival the Great Depression. It was Wiedemer's 2005 book, America's Bubble Economy, that warned of coming meltdowns in our housing and stock markets. Washington did not heed his call, and folks on Main Street lost $50 trillion from the recession. His New York Times best-selling book, Aftershock, predicted our federal debt and dollar would be the next bubbles to burst. And now Robert Wiedemer has released a startling video with shocking evidence the powers that be have tried to ban. But that hasn't stopped 50 million people from getting the truth. Join us at Aftershock2013.com. Aftershock2013.com.
Don't complain about your cable bill going up and up and up. Do something about it. Grab a pencil and jot down this special number, 1-855-625-MY-TV. The more cable TV rates go up, the better digital satellite TV looks. So cancel the cable and get more of your favorite channels in 100% digital quality for less money. Call 1-855-625-MY-TV. Right now to sign up for packages starting as low as $19.99, and there's no equipment to buy. You get free HD TV upgrade, a free DVR upgrade, and free professional installation. You control what you watch when you watch it. Record your favorite shows, pause and rewind live TV, even skip the commercials. Watch local channels too. At just $19.99, what are you waiting for? Pull out your major credit or debit card. Call 1-855-625-MY-TV. 1-855-625-MY-TV. Cancel the cable, cut costs, and get more. 1-855-625-MY-TV. 1-855-625-MY-TV.
Guys, you've heard about Ageless Male, the natural supplement that helps boost testosterone levels within normal, healthy ranges. But now, the best testosterone product is even better. New and improved Ageless Male can help you feel more like you used to in your active life and in your romantic life. Because our upgraded formula has been clinically shown to increase your drive, desire, and performance. That's right, guys. Ageless Male has been clinically shown to boost performance. Cancel your plans this weekend. You're staying in. If you're ready to recapture the drive from your youth, now is the time to try Ageless Male because it's available risk-free. But you must call now. Just call 1-800-460-9790. Be the guy you used to be. Just call 1-800-460-9790. 1-800-460-9790. 1-800-460-9790.
Here's today's silver shortage update from Lear Capital.
Reports keep coming, the shortage is growing. Twice already this year, the U.S. Mint has run out. Last time this happened, the silver price jumped 40%. It's time to take advantage with this special offer from Lear Capital.
For a limited time, buy 20 new silver polar bear coins and get one free. The only 1.5-ounce coin on the market. It's minted with the finest silver, carries a government guarantee, and is eligible for IRAs. The silver polar bear is available exclusively from Lear Capital. But don't wait. Silver supplies are shrinking and availability is not guaranteed. This offer is limited to a minimum purchase of $5,000. Call right now. 800-634-0482. 800-634-0482. Call Lear Capital now. 800-634-0482.
Do you have a motorized wheelchair or scooter that needs repairs and you don't know where to turn? Then call the experts at Precision Repair Network. They are the specialists in repairing all makes and models of motorized wheelchairs and scooters. You can call 24/7 and they will come to you anywhere in the United States. They'll give you a loaner to use until they return yours in perfect condition. And your repairs may be covered by your Medicare or your private insurance, so there is little or no out-of-pocket cost to you. If your wheelchair or scooter needs repairs, call this special hotline now and learn how you can get door-to-door service on your repairs at little or no cost to you. Precision Repair Network. They'll get you moving again. Operators are ready to take your call right now. 800-978-4813. 800-978-4813. 800-978-4813. That's 800-978-4813.
Microphones hot. Satellite link established. Studio lights illuminated. Cameras rolling. Audio and video encoders firing ones and zeros. Internet stream. Streaming. The most technology advanced radio show is on the air. Here's the captain of this enterprise, Steve Malzberg.
All right, folks, welcome back. Final segment of today's show. Let me address something that came out on Friday of last week, I do believe. There was a Pew Research poll that came out on race relations and the where we are 50 years after the speech of Martin Luther King Jr. And here is what they came up with. Blacks and whites generally agree that the two races get along well, but about 7 in 10 blacks, that's 70% of blacks, 25% of whites also agree that blacks are treated unequally by the criminal justice system. So it's a small amount of whites that believe that, but 70% of blacks do. A majority of blacks also say they're treated less fairly than whites in public schools and in the workplace. 33% of blacks, 20% of Hispanics, and 1 in 10 whites said they were treated unfairly within the last year because of perceptions of their race. Those are all perceptions, and those are all opinions. Here are some facts according to this Pew Research poll. Though marriage rates have generally declined overall since 50 years ago, 55% of whites, let me see if I got this right. Actually, no, it's not 55% of whites. Yes. 55% of whites, 31% of blacks, and 18 and older are married, compared with 74% of whites and 61% of blacks back in 1960. Why? Why? You got to ask yourself. The survey also says in 1960, black men were 5 times as likely as white men to be in local, state, or federal prison. 5 times back in 1960. 50 years later, black men are 6 times as likely. This whole thing is confused because I've circled a bunch of things. 50 years later, black men are 6 times as likely as white men to be incarcerated, and Hispanic men 3 times as likely. So you got to ask the question. Since 1960, okay, we're talking about 53 years. Why has the disparity grown? You're going to tell me because we're a more racist society? We're more racist now than we were in 1960? No way. No way, no how. And you know that. You got to know that. So I think the marriage, and again, marriage went down. 55% of whites, 31% of blacks 18 and older, compared with, it was 74% of whites who were married. It's now 55. It was 61% of blacks in 1960 who were married. Now it's 31%. So, you know, I think all of this contributes to problems that we have as a society. It's easy to blame racism on everything. Is there racism? Yes. There are racist whites, racist blacks, racist Hispanics, and that'll never end. But is it the way it was in 60? Come on. Absolutely no way. All right, folks, tomorrow on the big show, Steve Lonigan and a cast of thousands on the Steve Malzberg Show on Newsmax TV.